Hi, it's Ileana here, and I would like to discuss a very interesting interview that was done by Marcel Seifert from Real Mystery Show. He had invited William Whitecrow, who was a secret space program whistleblower. William had claimed that he went to Mars and had been an SSP asset on Mars through time travel program and through the Jump Room Gateway program. So I am going to include William Whitecrow's interview in English with Marcel Seifert, because originally it was done with English and German translation, but for this explanation I'm including the English version of it, not the full German English one, and that's because that's Marcel's original interview, but for purposes of what I'm doing this explanation for today, I'm just including the English version. And it is originally Marcel Seifert's interview with William Whitecrow on Real Mystery. The credit goes to them for that interview. And Marcel had included one of my presentations about the Mars domes and the bases and colonies and cities. While William was talking, my presentation was playing in the background. So that's what I kind of want to link in today with William's interview. What the commonalities of what William talked about in the interview and what my presentation was about, as well in regards to the Mars bases. So I did not get a chance to talk to William, but I did want to contact him and discuss two of the Mars presentations that I had done. He had some questions for me, so basically, unfortunately, he has passed away. I wanted to reach out to him recently to do that, but I found out that he passed away, so I did not get a chance to do that, to reach out to him. He had some questions about those two presentations, and I had some questions for him as well, because what he discussed in the interview is that the secret space program factions and groups actually do take into their programs assets who are civilians or from the military. It could be either or both. It could just be a civilian, and they'll kidnap you or indoctrinate you into these programs on Mars or the Moon or in the orbital space station platforms that are cloaked and that orbit the Earth or Mars or the Moon, for that matter. So they take people for psychic abilities sometimes. Basically, if you're able to sense the near present, the near future, if you're able to basically see future events, exactly what's going to happen in an event and how it's going to happen, where, why, that's very valuable to these programs. As well, if you have the ability to see into the past or the future, what's going to happen. And William claimed that he went into the year 2045, where he saw that the Earth's environment is in trouble. It's heavily polluted, and we're on the brink of disaster, basically. And that recently there was also a movie that came out on Netflix called The Titan, where they had started genetically altering humans to go on the moon Titan, because the Earth had been overcrowded, overpolluted. There was natural disasters and catastrophes happening, as well as wars all over the planet. So it had no longer been safe to live in California, San Diego, San Francisco, and other parts of the world because of the wars and the natural disasters. Because the wars, actually, the nuclear wars had triggered the environment to go into decline as well. So there was major things going on in 2045 in the movie Titan. And basically they had genetically altered some soldiers from the military on a secret base. And the space was specifically designed to invite soldiers who would sign up for this genetic program, but they were told they'd look completely human during this genetic modification, but throughout the whole process, they didn't look human anymore. They actually started changing into super hybrids with pale white skin, losing their hair, huge eyes, having gills and sort of like fins and extensions coming out of their hands and stuff, and turning into almost like super soldiers, where they were able to run faster. They had advanced psychic abilities. So William also mentioned that the SSP programs have genetic modification programming involved, where they augment their assets. They augment the psychic abilities of their assets, physically modify their assets to have faster strength, speed, agility, to be able to telepathically communicate with each other. That's something that William actually mentioned. So it ties in with the Titan show that just came out on Netflix several weeks back. It has a clear correlation. And also the Titan that takes place, that story arc takes place in 2045 as well, just as what William Whitecrow had seen in the future when he was on Mars, when he traveled to the future. And William also traveled to the past, where they collected soil samples from Mars to see how its environment was back then and what it is now in the present, to compare it what it is now in the present and also the future. And William was interested in my Mars domes presentation in particular, because that presentation discussed how around the Mars bases there's dome glass-like shielding that the bases are protected by from weaponry, from being hit by weapons, nuclear weapons, energetic weapons, being hit by meteorites, asteroids, any incoming space debris. And the fact that this dome glass-like shielding also cloaks the bases, so they can't be seen by satellites or radar from space. They can't be seen because they're cloaked and invisible. So that's another thing that was in my presentation, what William wanted to talk about with me, but never got a chance to do. And I never got a chance to talk to him about it either, what he knew more about Mars, the Mars basis, and the SSP programs on Mars. So those were one of the correlations and connections that William discussed on the interview with Marcel, as well as the fact that these programs are secret. NASA knows about the cover-up. They know that there's some type of Mars basis, moon basis, and they cover it up with their own program, what they're doing, the basics, that they're planning to, build future bases and colonies on Mars, that it's going to be done in 2035, 2040s. And they're claiming that there's no basis on Mars right now, when in fact there are the Planetary Corporation bases, or as it's called, the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, the ICC. So those bases are there on Mars. There's also different bases on the moon, lunar space operations. They don't just have one base on the moon, they have several on the moon, as well as on other planets in our solar system, outside the Oort cloud and the asteroid belt. So there's more bases that they have that's associated with lunar space operations. And it's not just one base, it's many. That's something that recently as well came out. So William discussed how NASA is covering that up to a certain degree. They know about these bases, and they're covering up for the secret space programs in the military-industrial complex. William also talked about how the SSPs do use time travel technologies and also teleportation technologies on Mars. The Mars Room jump gate portal technology, jump rooms as he called it, and the fact that time travel does exist, the programs use it. And I've been talking about the time corporations giving the SSP factions time travel technology, the quantum leap time travel dilation technology, where basically they could bend space and time. It's like a fold, so you create like a bridge, like an energetic bridge, so you could create teleportation portals. You can time travel back and forth, back in the past, the near future, or the future. So I've discussed that as well, and William experienced it, and so did I. I said I did a 16 back in the Quantum Leap Time Dilation Time Travel program. That's what I've been saying all along. So that's another correlation of what William discussed in the show with Marcel, because that's one of the questions that was asked of William Whitecrow. As well, I had done a presentation about the Earth Alliance mission with Donald Trump, that they debriefed him about some of the SSP programs that are up in space. And in that particular event, I had seen fighter jets that had anti-gravity engines. So the fighter jet could go up in space, in orbit above the planet, above Earth. And William also mentioned that they have teleportation generators on various different cargo planes and also other airplanes, and fighter jets have these mini teleportation generators as well, in addition to the anti-gravity engines, instead of the normal engines that are used on air fighter jets that the standard military uses. So those fighter jets have been modified. Airplanes, cargo planes, those have been long before modified with anti-gravity engines, and also some of the airplanes have the teleportation generators on them attached to the plane itself. So it jumps, literally it can jump from one location to another and be there in 5 minutes or less, or maybe longer. It depends on the location where they're jumping. The teleport jump is done directly from the airplane or the fighter jet. So it's quite interesting technology that's being utilized right now. That's something else that William discussed in his interview. So those are some of the commonalities that I've been talking about since 2016, and William discussed in his December 2017 interview. As well, William mentioned that there is sentient AI that looks like us, that is us, and that is essentially now created in our image, likeness of us, that it has its own mind, that it has feelings, it could think for itself, and that it walks among us. And I've been talking about the cybernetic labs that are attached to the ICC Mars bases. That I discussed in 2017. That was published in one of my own presentations in a video on YouTube. And I had watched Battlestar Galactica about 3.5 years ago, and they disclosed the Cylons, that the military had built cyborgs, literally living, breathing cyborgs that are infused with human cybernetic body parts, part human, part cybernetic technology. So, and there's no difference between them and us. They look like us, they feel like us, and they function like us. They have organs, and they also have cybernetic implants and cybernetic parts infused with the human body. Literally, it's 50-50, 50 human, 50 cyborg. And the cybernetic labs on Mars do the same thing. They literally create Cylons. We just call them cyborgs, but in Battlestar Galactica they were called Cylons. But that's another connection and correlation that William mentioned. Also smart suits. He said that on Mars there is a thin atmosphere, so you must wear an environmental type suit when walking around outside of the bases. And I've been talking about the smart suits and the environmental suits, that this technology has been built out by the ICC and the cybernetic labs. These smart suits basically, they have the ability to have a magnetic field around them, so they can cloak you. You can become invisible while wearing the smart suit. They repel different kinds of weapons fire, whether physical projectile, bullets, laser phaser fire. The smart suit protects you through the electromagnetic field that's around you. It has the ability to regulate your health, your vitamins, your supplements. If you get injured, the smart suit basically gives you different types of drug serums. It adjusts your pain threshold. The smart suit can also mimic clothing, different types of clothing, no matter what it is, because it has nanotech in it, woven into the suit itself. So it could change color, it could change shape, it could adjust to your body, it could adjust to different environments. It has environmental controls when you wear the helmet that's built with the suit. So you can virtually exist in any type of an environment on a planet or out in space. The suit has the ability to teleport you from one location to another, off planet to another planet. It has the ability to go up in space, so you can you don't need a ship or a craft to go into space, because the suit takes you into space. It has the ability to levitate, to lift off and go into space. And it doesn't have a huge engine pack in the back of it. It has reverse engineered extraterrestrial technology that is connected to thought consciousness technology, assisted thought consciousness technology, that you give the smart suit a command and it lifts off into space. That sounds far out there, but the technology does it. It's there. And it happens with your own thoughts. You program the suit with your own thoughts. It also has computer type AI in the suit, in the smart suit. It's not very sentient. It follows your orders and commands, but it can talk to you. It can communicate with you. It warns you when there's danger approaching you because it has sensors. The smart suit has sensors. So it does environmental scans and sees what's around you. And it warns you if there's somebody coming near you or if somebody's behind you, whether they have weaponry or not. So the suit will warn you if there's danger approaching you. It can sense other smart suits that are cloaked. If it's the same type of model of a suit, it senses heat signature. It controls gravity as well. It can create different types of gravitational fields, the boots of the suit. That's something interesting that that I was discussing on my own website at one point. The smart suit also has the capability to basically alter the molecular structure of your body. So while you're wearing the suit, the body and the DNA, or while you're wearing the smart suit, you do not go to the bathroom. So somehow it controls bodily waste. You won't, while you're wearing the smart suit, you won't be going to the bathroom. Somehow you don't need to go to the bathroom while in the smart suit. That's very handy on missions and jobs while out in space, or even on planets. If you're traveling from planet to planet on different jobs or missions, that's pretty handy. In the Planetary Corporations, or the equivalent interplanetary corporate conglomerate, they've created these smart suits. So the technologies there, the time travel, the teleportation, portal technology, the jump rooms, that's all there. That's all been done, and William discussed that in quite a bit as well in his interview. So those are the main points and correlations in what I have been disclosing about the secret space programs and what William discussed in his almost last interview before he passed away. And he passed away from suspicious circumstances. So it wasn't natural passage. It was suspicious circumstances that are hopefully going to be investigated. It might have been something that he might have been planning to disclose. We really don't know too much. But there are a lot of unanswered questions. And William Whitecrow was a shaman. He learned different modalities of shamanism, including Native American shamanism, so he knew a lot about natural healing modalities and techniques. And I'm also a certified Native American shamanic practitioner. And I have psychic abilities. Sometimes I'm able to remote sense different events that are going to happen or already have happened, and I can get more detail on them without truly knowing what I'm looking at, but I see it in clear detail and I understand it. And then later on, I know what that target was that I remote sensed. I have those psychic abilities. I also can pick up on people's thoughts, feelings, and what people are going to do, actions. So I don't like to call it being an intuitive empath. I see it as psionic abilities. That's something that William also discussed in the interview. And the fact that there are genetic programs involved, genetic modifications. In the secret space programs, I was genetically modified temporarily so I would look like different types of humanoid ETs. Literally, my genetic structure in my body would change. I would physically change. So I could be taller, could be broader in mass, I never wanted to be shorter than 5'5". I always wanted to look like a humanoid being at least. And they put me in basically different negotiations and meetings with extraterrestrials. but I had to look like the extraterrestrials, and I would only deal with the humanoid ones. I refused to look like something that wasn't human. If it had 4 arms or 4 legs or various different weird appendages, I would not want to look like it, so I drew the line at that. I always must have, for myself, I needed to look human at least, humanoid. Yeah, my skin color could be different. Could have different hair, different eyes, whatnot. That's not totally humanoid looking. That's different. But I was literally transformed genetically into other races of humanoid looking ETs. And I would go in meetings with other extraterrestrials on behalf of the ICC or the Planetary Corporations when I was on Mars, and also the 4 ICC Mars Space Orbital Station platforms. There would be meetings with extraterrestrials on the Mars bases and on the space station platforms, and sometimes even on other planets as well in the solar system and outside of our solar system. So that's what they had me do. They also, with drug serums, they kept me looking young, like in my mid-20s, 30s. I would not age beyond that because of the drug serums. As well, they gave me other drug serums that kept me healthy, so the nanotechnology would not replicate in my body. Those drug serums would keep me at bay. And William Whitecrow talked about various technologies that the SSP has. And that, with the drug serums, the time travel, the teleportation devices, that's something that they have. They could do age regression, they could keep you young. So there are so many different technologies that the secret space programs have that's not currently available to us civilians on Earth unless you're in these programs. And this begins sometimes from an early age, that you're indoctrinated into the programs, or it could be when you're a young adult or a teenager. So this can begin from birth, as well as having interactions with extraterrestrials, or with the others, as William preferred to call them. Could be begins when you're born. So it's very interesting. There's some very interesting correlations between William's interview and what I have been disclosing. So I wanted to make this comparison because I will include the English version of the interview that was done by Marcel Saffiet with William Whitecrow from Real Mysteries, from their show, because they run a show in Germany and Austria, and it's very successful. So that was their interview with my Mars Domes, Bases, and Colonies presentation included, and I will include voiceovers of my 3 presentations, 2 about the Mars bases, with mapped locations that I had done of how to detect bases that are covered by the glass-like domes, because I actually found a technique that another SSP insider and asset, Thomas Alvin from the Secret Space Program group, he developed this technique and he showed me how to do it, and I found various craters that have these glass-like dome shielding. There's a special technique through Photoshop that you could do to uncover these domes, and there's bases in them. So that technique will be discussed in the first Mars Dome presentation. And also the second presentation discusses the various different Mars and Moon base locations that I had been on. So I did that a couple of years ago, and through Google Mars and through Google Earth. So those are the two presentations that William was interested in. As well, I will include the cybernetic labs presentation. That's the cybernetic labs that are attached to the Mars bases. I'll voice that over, include that. So those are the three presentations that I will include after the English version of In Memory of William Whitecrow interview. That was done in December 2017, closer to the end of December. So thank you, William Whitecrow, for all of your contributions to disclosing the secret space programs, what happened to you and others on Mars. And we will always remember you. Your kindness, your loving heart, and your compassion towards others. And you've helped many of us. And your interviews have been inspiring and so full of correlating information that matches up with other SSP assets that are coming forward to disclose about the secret space programs. And sometimes it may cost us our lives when we disclose something that these programs don't want us to disclose. Or the military-industrial complex, Men in Black. There's so many different factions of these programs that exist on Earth and off-world on other planets. Whether it's the secret space program factions groups or the Black Ops programs, the 3-letter agencies, 4-letter agencies, there's a lot of danger in coming forward and disclosing. So be careful, use your discernment, and just understand that you could lose your life when you come forward. That is a possibility. Nobody's truly safe. Once you've been in the secret space program, once you've been an asset, that's an SSP asset, you never really leave the programs. You can try your best, and sometimes you're able to do something to revoke contracts and cancel out any duty you have with the secret space programs, but they re-abduct you anyway. They take you against your will, against your permission. You say no, and it may stop for a while, then it starts again. These programs are not glamorous. They're not beautiful. They're not safe. They're dangerous. They're mercenary. They're predatory. And they're here basically, they own us. They own our souls. Once you're an SSP asset, they own you. You're their property. You're their slave. You're their asset. There's nothing beautiful or glamorous about these programs. Trust me, you don't want to be an asset in the secret space programs, any of the factions. There's psychopaths, there's sociopaths in these programs. They're mercenary, they're predatory, and they act like military. But they're not official military. There's no oversight in human rights and freedoms in these programs. They're despicable. They kidnap people. They take them against their will. They use us as cyborgs. They put us into clones. They're soul transference technology. They could literally take your soul out of your body and put it into a magnetic stasis field and hold your soul in it temporarily, then put you into a clone, put you into a cyborg, put you into a bionic-like body, in a synth body, and synthetic body. They could do that too, and it could change eye color, hair color, body, body shape, skin color. They have bioroids, which are like synthetics, but the bioroid is more humanoid looking, like a Cylon. It's not a cyborg. It's made of bioliving matter, the bioroid. So it's almost 100% human with some nanotechnology in it to make it function, but it doesn't have cybernetics. It might have some Neuralink implants, but it's not mostly cybernetic. It doesn't have Terminator-like technology in the body. That's a comparison. That's the best comparison I can make. because movies have been made about cyborgs. Terminator 1, 2, 3. And there's genetic modification too. Some of us have been modified when we were turned into extraterrestrials, humanoid-looking extraterrestrials. I remember that. I remember doing many jobs for the secret space program faction that is the ICC, or the Planetary Corporations. I remember doing communications. I remember inputting stuff into databases. I remember being a body parts control technician in the cybernetic labs. I remember basically testing out the Neuralink implants in how they're connected to different craft and ships in order to be able to psychically and psionically connect to the ship technology, the ship computers, and direct the ship, pilot it, give it instructions, give smart suits instructions. I remember several different jobs and being rotated like every 10 to 14 years to different job types. And that's what happened to me in the 60 and back. Quantum time leap, 60 and back. Time travel dilation. So, and I remember memories of being an extraterrestrial. Having that in my cellular memories. And the secret space programs also like to take civilians or military into creating them into SSP assets because of us having memories of being extraterrestrials in past lives. That's also a huge part of it, not just taking us for our psychic abilities and augmenting us with Neuralink implants or microchip implants. So we're connected to computers. There's so many different reasons why you could be taken into the SSP to be an SSP asset, or your family lineage as well. If there's a history of having extraterrestrial contact experiences, if your family has been abducted for generations, or your family has been in the secret space program as assets for generations, and if you fit the profile, genetically, they'll also put you as an asset into these programs. There's so many different facets of why you could be taken into these programs. So many. And William White Crow's account is very accurate. And I've listened to the interview twice. And I wish I had talked to him. I wish he had not passed away in the manner that he did. It's these programs meddle with our lives, these black ops programs, secret space programs. They interfere and meddle in our lives. It's not pretty. It's filled with trauma. It's filled with horror, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. You have nightmares about memory recall. Whether it comes through the hypnosis sessions, whether you remember it on your own, it's not pretty. It's disturbing, it's disgusting, it's despicable. None of this is glamorous. None of this is perfect and wonderful. It interferes with our human lives. You can come out of these programs being so broken and damaged. It's not funny at all. There's nothing to laugh about in any of this. It's terrible. It's terrifying. It's filled with horror and nightmares. Your health can be ruined. You yourself can have physical health problems, mental health problems, emotional problems. Sometimes you're not able to sleep at night. You have hormonal problems. You have trouble interacting out in social situations with people. You can have hypersensitivities. You can have weird autoimmune disorders or diseases that are not easy to diagnose or explain. And people think you're crazy and you're weird and you're different or you're disturbed. In reality, you're not crazy. You're perfectly sane. You've just had amazing and weird experiences in your life that are different from other people. And it could take a lifetime to figure all of this out, how it connects with off-world operations, how your life connects with off-world operations and what happened to you, unraveling it all. It's not easy connecting the dots. But William Whitecrow had enough data correlation points with what I've been disclosing for me to want to do this discussion and voice over the presentations that I have done in the past, because I've experienced some of the same things he has experienced or close to it, what I've been disclosing. So that's why I wanted to do this video and to do an English version attached to this video in the presentations in memory of William Whitecrow, the video that Marcel Safiet had done with William Whitecrow from Real Mystery, from the Real Mystery Show.
William Whitecrow.
Can you please tell us how you got into this program in the beginning?
Yes, actually in the beginning of the program, as most, I had a lot of experiences when I was a young kid, very young, starting at 5 years old, as did my wife and stuff. And through that time, up until I joined the military, you're kind of groomed, basically, is what's happening. You have experiences, and the reason they bring you into the programs in the military is because you have certain abilities that they want. You sense things ahead of time. You feel things ahead of time. You almost predict an event. If you're going to go into something, you almost already know the outcome. Most of the time you do. But anyway, as I grew up in childhood, there was many experiences with, as I call them, the others, visitors, whatever you wish to call them out there. And through that time, I started really understanding and knowing where the Earth was going, where humanity was going, things of this nature. So I was kind of groomed to the point of and being always told that you're helping humanity. And this is very important. You know, so that's where my outlook of life and everything, and I started understanding more native ways. My research took me in deeper. I started understanding the whole program. Then I went in the military. When I went into the military, wasn't long. When I was in basic training, because I already had weapons experience, all kinds of abilities, seeing things kind of in the future, and they like that about you, because when you go into a situation and you reconnoiter an area, you kind of already know what's going on. You're hypersensitive to all this stuff, and that's what they have to have. They need this, especially when dealing with the others. And that's part of the genetic program that they have us in. And there's many, we were talking before the show about this. So when I joined the military, I was taken into a room, and next thing I knew, I was dealing with SOG, the Studies and Observation Group, and I was taken into the programs. And from that point on, I ended up doing going into aviation for a while, and then I ended up in security in Vietnam. And from that point on, I was in the programs pretty deep, and that's when I actually became an instructor, and I trained Andrew Vishago and quite a few others actually out there. And after 30 years later, Andrew found me and talked to me for another year after he found me and brought me out to, so now I'm telling people what really went on. And believe me, there's a lot going on. But basically, when you were in as deep as I was and everything, this all starts as a child. It isn't something you go in the military and, oh, we want you to join this program. You know, when I was taken into a room and they asked me a bunch of questions, they asked me questions in my childhood that they already knew the answers to. How could they know that? Unless I was in this program from the very beginning. And I think that's the case with a lot of people out there. And they just don't know it, but they're in there from the beginning.
Okay. Okay, are there some archives to find about the secret space program, or is it all kept hidden from the public?
I think we all know the answer to that already, really. You find it's so compartmentalized that it's really hard to link anything together, you know, if you're not in the programs. Because number one, like a lot of people ask me, oh, did you get any pictures? Did you get any this and that? Oh, no. None of that stuff is allowed in the programs. As far as the archives, you can find bits and pieces within CIA doctrine and things that, you know, that have been released to the public already. But you're not going to find anything really clandestine in paperwork. because they try to stay away from that. Everything's compartmentalized. Everything is, once a program is done, a lot of the information is actually destroyed, you know, or put somewhere where it can never be found again. Part of the reason, say something right now also, is part of the reason that we're having a lot of the private corporations and enterprises going into the space program and things like this is because of the Freedom of Information Act. The government doesn't have to, well, the government has to answer to the people through the Freedom of Information Act, but private corporations don't. So anything that's going up there right now is becoming absorbed into these programs. So you can kind of say yes and no. I mean, it's very obvious what's going on. When NASA defunds the Mars program, why do you defund something? It's because you already got it going. You know, you don't need to fund it anymore. It's functioning. It's going.
Is there some kind of relationship between NASA and the secret space program, or does NASA don't know anything about this program?
NASA knows what it's told. It does know about part of the secret space program because they have their people there watching what's going on. You have the surface program, the secret space program, which is NASA and other agencies, you know, the private industry now. But basically NASA is just a cover thing, and they keep the programs that we get to see on TV and everything now are just smoke and mirrors. You know, the real deep aspect of the space program is self-running. It doesn't have to have anything to do with NASA, but NASA's there to keep us looking at what they want us to look at. A lot of smoke and mirrors going on with these types of programs.
Okay, now, yeah, we know that NASA also are keeping lots of their stuff secret, and they are not interested in the Freedom of Information Act at all, I guess.
No, they don't care. You know, once you get to a national security level, game's off. You know, there's nothing. If you do too much, they're going to come and visit you. And I mean, I've been followed off and on all my life. My wife noticed it when we first got married. When Andrew Bishago came up here, like I said last time, she broke down in tears because she thought he was coming to get me to bring me back in programs. He mentioned people, dates, names of people, described them, and she knew these people, and she thought, oh no, you know. And I told her, no, I'm not doing this again. You know, so now everything is cool. You know, but there for a while, you know, it was really a problem. You know, but the programs that are going right here are not dependent on anything that we see in regular society right now at all.
Okay. Can you tell us something about the time travel program, or if you probably personally were involved in time traveling or did some time travels?
Yeah, definitely. It's very important that people understand that these programs are functioning and alive and well on the planet right now. Part of the reason that we're having different things going on with this so-called Mandela effect is because there's been changes. Now, as science says and everything, you can't go back and change a particular timeline because they call it the grandfather clause. That's out the window. People have to understand one thing right now. You can go back. As soon as you go back into time, you create a new timeline. So what you can do is take that particular timeline and you can guide that timeline in whatever direction you want to go. And that's what they're doing out there right now. And it should be kind of evident to people if you can stop and look at the things that are happening and think about it, you know, what's going on. My involvement, yeah, I was involved with Andrew. When you come in and out of the teleporters or the, you know, the jump rooms and things like this, you have to be ready for what you're getting into, and that's what I did. I taught people how to deal with this. My thing is I went forward in the future and seen things. Society is going to be there, mankind is going to be there, but it's going to be much different than it is today. We're in the transition process right now. People really need to understand that. Humanity itself is in a transition process right now that's very important. And unless we still have this thing going on with the others, we wouldn't really survive. There is so many things happening right now. So I guess that's the best way to put it. Yes, what I've seen in the future really pushes me today, and with Andrew showing up, pushed me to come out and say what I know about what's going on. And like I've said many times before, I don't consider myself a super soldier. I consider myself an individual that knows what's going on And if you were a super soldier, you still have those abilities. If you're a hybrid, then that's a higher chance for you to be one of these people that they call super soldiers. And if you've been a hybrid and you've been involved in the programs, you've been involved with jump rooms and things to a point. My deal was to reconnoiter areas that scientists and everything were going. So I had to jump future, past a few times, not a lot of times, but enough to understand exactly what's going on and where we're headed. Yes, so the answer there is, yeah, I've been involved in them.
Okay. Yeah, we know the time travels from Andrew, for example, and he's been to, I guess he met, was it Abraham Lincoln, if I remember this correct? Yeah. And have you been there with him, or have you been to other places, or can you tell us where you have been or when you've been?
Yeah, basically I went to the year, it was 2045. Andrew also went there, and we've seen two different things because of the two different aspects of the programs we were in. He was more of the VIP type individual dealing with intelligence and things like this. I was, I don't use the term grunt, but we used to use that a lot between one another in the programs. What I've seen in the future in the year 2045 is our environment's in pretty bad shape. We're still functioning, we're using newer technologies and everything, but our planet has changed so much during that time. And those of you alive out there right now, watch this time, keep a journal on everything that's happening, because this is a very important time in history. I was also on Mars with scientists there, and we turned around and we needed to go back in time when Mars was being bombarded, when a lot of things were happening. There was a lot of internal strife. They needed to get air samples, soil samples, all this kind of stuff that scientists do during that time. So we had to reconnoiter that area before we brought them in. And then we turned around and bring that information back. A lot of our stuff was going out, retrieving technology and information and data from different time periods so they could come back to today and turn around and prepare. Got to be realistic, the higher sources, those in control of the world and stuff right now, for what is coming in the future. And that's what they're doing right now. You can see it in everyday news.
As we all know, our future is not fixed, so that what you have seen in the year 2045 doesn't mean that this comes to be, probably.
Yeah, there's a high chance of that if we do what we need to do today. And that's, when they go into the future, this is one thing people have to understand. When you're at one time period, let's say like today, right now, if we jump from this time period and we went into the future, you're going to see that timeline as the timeline is right now and what the possibilities are. If you go into, if you start manipulating that and creating what we call ripples in time, and that's when you see changes like in Star Wars or in the Bible, changes and things of this nature, there's a high possibility you can change everything. And that's a good thing. And that's what we're trying to do right now.
Okay.
So futures are not fixed. Futures are not fixed. They can be swayed and changed.
Can you tell us what you have seen when you went back in the timeline? What happened to Mars that's looking now that what we see now?
Well, my first trip was back into the past of the U.S., just back to the 1800s. I have a watch that I put away for a long period of time that I still have from that period of time, kind of like, okay, here's your thing, prove you were there, la, la, la. The situation on Mars basically went back to, there was a lot of strife, internal strife going on. There was another planet that had been destroyed at one period of time, and they needed a place to live too. So the Martians, really cool. I'm going to use the term Martians, okay? That's not what they call themselves. But anyway, so there was a lot of internal strife because that planet Mars was going to be struck by a lot of the debris, also from this other planet that had broke apart. So there was a lot of internal strife. I'll talk about a little bit of here, something that's in the Bible at the same time that people will understand how this all fits together too. What I've seen in the past and everything was a lot of bombardment, meteor bombardment was happening. I've seen internal conflict. There was fighting, a war going on. There was two nuclear strikes that were taking place. This was from the isotopes that they took then and now. Our first thing was to take these scientists in, let them collect their samples. They actually brought a few people back so they could tell what was going on from that time period. Whatever happened to them, I do not know. But they were highly intelligent. They looked just like us, with few differences. and they gathered a lot of information. Our job was mainly to make sure that they were okay while we were there, get all their samples and everything, get to the jump point again, and then get back to the time period that we needed to be at. Now, one thing that I did learn, what we call war in heaven, I'll touch on that really quick, was simply you had a faction of those that were leaving Mars at the time, the Armada in space. Some said, looked at Earth and everything because it was pristine and everything, and said, let's go down there and take care of things. You know, it can be our world. But because of their belief in the way things were, they said, no, we can't do that. So that's hence where the war in heaven came from. Automatically, you have these battles going on. That's why all of our ancient peoples talk about these craft, these things falling from heaven, like meteors and everything like that, and why they were cast down to heaven. I mean, out of heaven to the earth to live out the rest of their time. That's where a lot of the problems from the earth came from, our inhabitants now and everything. But my time period back showed me a lot of what was going to happen with the earth, systems, star systems, things of this nature. But they got a lot of information, and that's why in 1964 they were looking at how to control the populations, because humans have a tendency to grow fast. You know, I also realized that the gods that they talked about were really our creators. For sure they were, but they were not gods per se. Their technical abilities are way beyond anything we could have. And that was still evident back in the past too, on Mars as well as here.
Did I understand this correct? Did you say that you brought, or the program brought some people to our timeline from the past, from Mars?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We were involved with him back then. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, these are 3 or 4 questions.
That's okay.
First, is there still a breathable atmosphere on Mars? And second, are there still some kind of natives living on Mars, some kind of Martians, Mars people, or humanoid maybe, and how do they survive? How do they plant their food, for example, there?
Very good questions. Very good questions. Number one, right off the top, the atmosphere is breathable for a short period of time, not a long period of time. You do have to have your respirators, you know, your oxygen. Also, the suits that we have to have on Mars are minimal because of just because of the atmosphere. You do have an atmosphere. The first rover pictures were a baby blue atmosphere, just like we have here. So, you know, I kind of let the audience, whenever they start looking up there and seeing all these red pictures, that is not what Mars looks like at all. You know, so that's the NASA's version. As we were talking earlier, what does NASA do? There you go. Okay, so also, yes, there are inhabitants there, and the reason we don't see inhabitants within our solar system is because they're under ice, they're under geologic layers, you know, and underground cities and things like this, because they're smart. They learned a long time ago. They're not like us. We like to build massive cities. They used to, but they don't do that anymore. And the reason for that is because changing in atmospheric conditions, you know, radiations, a lot of new things, sun pulses, things coming through our system. It's harder to destroy a civilization when they're underground. It really is. And it's hard to detect these civilizations when they're underground as well. That's how come we can't detect the ones that are under our oceans, under our ice caps, you know, within mountain ranges, things of that here. You know, as far as the inhabitants, yeah, there were some up there that were basically just like us. And there were many others. As far as the food and everything like that, heck, we can grow anything we want hydroponically or whatever underground in cave systems right now. We have huge cities underground right now that's for the COG systems, dumb bases, deep underground military bases that do exactly that right now. So when people look and say, oh, that would be hard to do. Wait a minute, all we have to do is look at our backyard. We're doing the same things right now, you know. So, yeah, to all of those questions, yeah, there are other beings up there. In the Mars conference and everything showed snake-like creatures, herd creatures in pictures, all types of different life forms that are up there. There is flowing water during the temperature during the day is up to 76 degrees, just like it here is in Earth, and it's minus 100 or something or more in the evening time. We survived that here on Mount Washington, up in the northern countries of Alaska and Canada, and where you guys live too. extremely low temperatures, especially if you have a wind chill factor. So surviving the conditions on Mars and the radiation and everything, and even traveling there, come on, if we got the ships that can travel in space right now, as the TR-3B and the cylindrical ones and sports models and all the other one, they've already got shields around these ships to protect you from the radiations and everything else that goes on. Up there, the surface of Mars itself protects you from what's going on, any radiations. So there really isn't much of a problem. Look at what we can do now on this planet, and we're doing 10 times that out there on Mars and other worlds.
Okay. Andrew Di Passaggio was speaking of, I guess, 4 humanoid species still existing on Mars, looking almost like us, probably, maybe smaller, a bit smaller. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you have had some contact to them, or were talking to them, or was there some kind of interaction between you and them?
Basically, there's interaction anytime you go somewhere. There has to be. And you're going to see them, they're going to see you. You're either going to go, oh, and run and hide, or you're going to try to communicate. And that's part of the diplomatic aspect of what you do. If you see something, our job was basically analyze if they're pro or con, meaning dangerous to us, or good, where we can communicate with them. And so far, most of the things that we've ran into, now there are a couple of races out there that are bad news. A human being is just a resource. They don't care about us. That's just the way it is. But there are others out there that we communicate with. They're not quite as advanced as we are on Mars and stuff, where they're a space travel, even though there is with a couple of the species that are there. But yeah, a lot of them look like us. We have to remember, we have to go back in our history and find out that these beings, we're not the first ones on this planet. These beings have been here a long period of time. Therefore, the genetic diversity that they spread throughout our system is very similar to what we have right here on Earth. That's how come in the ancient dispensations, when there was great extinction periods on the Earth, if you think about it and you go back in your history and you look, you'll see each time there was different life forms. And each time after a great extinction period. Yeah. Same thing on Mars, same thing on anything out there. But as far as the species that I interacted with, were mostly the grays, also what people like to call the whites, whatever, that look just like us. They're within our society right now. This was part of the program of the changing in the Earth. This was happening. They're involved.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. There are 4 different humanoid species still existing on Mars, or at least, or about.
I couldn't tell you how many there are right now. I haven't been in the program in a while. It took Andrew 30 years to find me. So I would say that I know for a stone cold fact that there's 2 from some of the sources that I'm talking to now. I would imagine they're still the same when Andrew was there and when I was there back then. There's been some changes. The atmosphere, the terraforming operation that's going on Mars right now. There's a greater intake of uptake, I should say, into the atmosphere of methane, things of this, which comes from life, itself. So I would have to say probably more than likely. I know for 2, for sure, the ones that are very similar to us are still there. The others, I don't know. I can't honestly say that.
We know of several alien species visiting us permanently, maybe for hundreds or thousands of years.
Hundreds of thousands.
Or millions of years or whatever. Yeah. Can you probably tell us what these species are, what kind of species these are, or the most important they are us most?
Basically, the ones that I know now, we have to go back to the Anunnaki time. There's bloodlines and everything that are going on. There's a lot of genetic engineering. So now they're really mixed with us. We are not the original inhabitants there. They are. Basically, I've dealt with basically 4 species through my entire time. 2 are more predominant. That is a gray, an aspect of the grays, which are not detrimental to us. They're more of the genetic aspect of us that we really kind of need them more than they need us right now at this particular time in history. I can go into that a little bit more. The other ones are here to continue their existence. This planet is there just as much as it's ours. We humans keep forgetting this, and they're intermingling with us right here. It's another society within a society. You know, like, I guess that's the best way to put that. Two of them are definitely here. They're part of us. They're intermingled with us. They're genetically intermingled with us. We also have a species that's living right alongside of us in this society that is doing their own thing. And that's important for people to understand. And that's why we were talking before the show, why it's very important for people to understand that who they are. A lot of people out there feeling different. They don't feel right here. They don't feel right in our societies. They just feel different because they are, yeah. And not only star seeds, but all hybrids. And they're feeling this change that's taking place in humanity and everything. And that's because of these other races. And they're also interacting with these hybrids, letting them know it's okay, this is what you are. This is the next step of humanity. Nothing to worry about.
Also, we all know that there are benevolent species out there and also non-benevolent. We know that some species are abducting humans, doing experimentations with us and stuff. And can you probably tell us who these non-benevolent species are and who these benevolent species are, or is this not known?
Okay, yeah. We have to understand one thing right off the top, that just like as human species, in these other species, there's good and bad, as you were just saying. You know, so there's an aspect of the grays that are good, and there's a lot of aspects of them that aren't. Other, you know, hybrids from them, I guess would be the best way to put it. The whites are working with us 100%. A lot of people have to understand that we're being helped by a lot of them on a regular basis. The negative ones that are controlling pretty much society and those in control what's going on are really worried at this time right now, because this is a transition for humans, a very important transitional period of time. The good ones are opening our minds. I don't like to use the word our hearts, more of our intelligence as our understandings of things, the more logical aspect, because we humans are pretty fickle when it comes to emotions. We get too emotionally involved. These other good species for us, they have the emotions, but their emotional makeup is different than us. And they're helping us understand that we have to put certain things in check. That's why the hybridization program, you know, so we don't straight up destroy ourselves. The bad aspects of these negative ones, and you can call them gray Assyrians, you know, there's many names that they go by, because we humans have a tendency to put a lot of labels on one thing, you know, and that's the problem that we do. So they right now are in a serious control battle. What's going on? Humanity is waking up because of these other ones, the good ones for us, but the bad ones got a good upper hand. They do control the whole situation, what's going on, and if people think that they don't right now, they really need to take another look at what's going on, especially within the United States and its governmental structure, because we're being pushed into a war, and as soon as we get pushed into wars, then the helping aspect of the goods are gone. They can only deal with survivors, and that's what we're trying to avoid right now in a big way. So as far as labels and names, I would just say the two species that I've always talked about are they're here trying to help us. You know, the more the whites and Nordic type, the ones that really look like us. The other ones are the ones that are looking for us as a resource, and they're a bad faction of the grays and things of this nature. There's a lot of genetic intermixing there.
Okay. We all know of these so-called reptilian species, several larger ones, smaller ones. And do you know if they developed here on our planet and then somehow decided to live underneath the surface or developed high technologies, maybe like UFOs or cylinder ships, or are these reptilians coming from another planet?
Originally, they came from another world, but after millions and millions of years, of course, now Earth is part of their home, just like several other species that are here among us. You know, I think that's the first thing that we really need to understand. Now they are, just like we call ourselves Earthlings, they are too. They've been here for generations upon generations. They've developed technologies far beyond what we would even dream of. And some of those technologies have been shared within the, shall we say, DARPA, RETHI, and all of these other agencies that work for the governments. They have the programs where they agree, okay, you can have so many humans and do this. We want technologies. So there is aspects of even our governments and everything that look at us as a resource too. They've been here for a long time. They've developed technologies. They got crafted, just like, matter of fact, a lot of the things that we have, some of the technologies have come from them too, as other races as well. But they look at us as we're a resource, more the reptilians, and that's what I was talking about before. There are an aspect of them that are more friendly to us, but for the most part, they kind of look at us as we're here, you're here, and but you're a resource for us as well if necessary.
Okay. We know that there are species already amongst us, living amongst us, who look like us, so you can't separate them from their look. Probably some are using some kind of shape shift to look like humans. And how can you detect such beings if they just look?
Feel them. For me, I can feel them. I can walk through a crowd and I don't want to say the word comradeship, but you could feel their presence. You can look and see them in the eye. If you're a hybrid in any way or a person that can feel anything, you can turn around and look and you'll feel and you'll notice. We're just not trained to pay attention to that. You're an average human being out there. We're not. Mm-hmm. But if you've been in the programs and everything, you can turn around and look and you'll feel or you'll see and you can smile and they'll smile back. They're just, it's like, I don't know, it's a feeling thing. It's being a hybrid situation. That's the best way that I could put it. Your average person out there, they don't have, like on Visitors, a little crooked finger, or anything like this. It's a knowing. It's a knowing.
Empathic level.
Yes, good, very good right there. See, the thing about us hybrids, we don't really pay attention to, like you said, the empathic nature. It's just a natural part of us. So when we use those things, we don't look at it as being ESP or anything. That's just a part. And really, if most humans out there, we understand that's just a natural part of us. With the hybrids and things, it just enhance more. So we see, feel, and understand things at a deeper level.
So can you tell us what's waiting for us probably in the future, and probably we will be maybe again genetically manipulated from other races?
Oh yeah, we are. We are right now. This is a very important time in human history. And I'll give you a quick explanation of that. Right now, the fertility of men and women across the planet is dropping. Big time. One thing that people have to understand, a species can only live so long in a particular environment. When that environment changes, to become where they can't adapt to that particular environment that's coming on. That's where the human species is right now. Because of the chemicals, because of a lot of things that are happening within our planet, because of the things we're producing, we have to be hybridized again. What's happening with our birth rates and everything is going down. Some birth rates in countries are not going to be able to continue on with stability. It isn't going to happen. So right now, what humanity is going through right now, and this is part of the things that people are feeling out there, the uncertainties and everything, is the new hybridization program that is taking place. It isn't the point, I mentioned this earlier, it isn't the point that these other beings need us to continue on going, even though they do genetically, to a point. We need them to continue on. Our genetics to continue on, but eventually on this planet, they're going to become weaker and weaker and weaker because of crossbreeding and everything, just like anything else. So anything that becomes hybridized is only going to last so long. Then you're going to have to interject new genetics in that to make it stronger to handle the new environments and things that are coming. So that's what's happening with this right now. Yes, we are definitely being genetically enhanced for what's coming. Okay. That's why the hybrids now are thinking quicker, reacting different quicker. We're getting more into thinking more logical of how we need to deal with the planet right now to stop the changes that are happening. So yeah, we're seriously being enhanced right now. And it's a good thing.
after all these experiences you made throughout all these years that you've been into this program, how do you feel today about all this when you think back what you've done and where you've been to? And
wow. That's a really good question. I feel separate. I guess that's the best way to put it, because what I know, what I've experienced, what I see happening, all those things that I was told when I was just a kid within these programs, you know, I would say from the others, is happening. At times it's really hard to deal with, knowing the things that I know and where humanity is headed, watching most of humanity asleep. I'm glad that these programs, some of these programs are continuing, because it's the enhancement of the human being, which we all really need to have, you know, where we become a little more logical, less emotional, and oh my God, this and that. You know, we need to stop and think what's going on and work towards a better goal than we are right now. We've been kept in loops for generations upon generations, and that's where they like to keep us, those in control. The ones that I've dealt with want us to grow a lot more. They want us to continue on, go out into space, and just continue on as a species. I get pretty sad, like at times right now, when you're looking at the possibilities of our governments going this nuclear arms race and everything, when it's not necessary. There's the technologies out there that are unbelievable, that could really fix all of our problems, including some of the problems we're having with our planet, and we're not doing it. So I would say, being who I am and knowing all the things and my experiences and how I feel right now, is sometimes I want to take those in control of humanity and slap them right upside the head, you know, because it's necessary. All of humanity needs to really go in more of a positive direction, technology, the non-polluting things of this nature, because this is our future. It already is our future. Part of us are already out there doing this. And if they would open these doors for the rest of humanity, we would not be going through any of the stuff we're doing right now. They like the separation game. Yeah, the separation of the races, the separations of the religions, that's what keeps us in control. Once we understand and learn how to throw that away, humanity is going to be much better, because of the genetics that are in us right now and the enhancements right now. We could be light years ahead of ourselves already. And I think that's where I'm at with that. You know, the programs have to continue on, or humanity will go away, as well a lot of things will go away. But we need to get rid of these control factors so humanity can grow in a more positive direction.
Okay. They are hiding their advanced technology from us to sell us their oil and make money on us and power. Okay.
Yeah.
Nowadays we see robots or machines. They have more abilities. Yeah. Probably they can feel or develop some kind of own consciousness. Yeah. Some kind of AI maybe, or probably it's still running.
Yeah, that's been in existence for a long time. You know, the AI has always been around, really. You know, they're finding a lot of realities with this AI. Let's see if I can put it in the right way and everything. The robots that we're seeing out there right now and everything, that can do backflips and do all kinds of things, that's been in existence for a while. Usually the only time we're going to see it on a video is after 40 years of it already being in use. That's the important thing for people to understand, you know. So what we're seeing right now has been in use for a long period of time. Are there Terminator type machines out there? Oh yeah, definitely. Are there robotic systems and AI systems that look just like me and you out there functioning in society? Oh yes, definitely. There is no getting around that. Cloning, all this type of stuff is a reality, and so we're looking at, you know, with the cloning aspect and the robotics aspect, more the cyborg type situation. They're trying to really push that more and more and more. Yeah, it's a reality, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, the last question is coming from me. In one of your earlier talks, you said that you also flew to Mars with a UFO in the 70s, I guess. Yeah. You not only
the first time.
you not only use this elevator, but you also were flying there with a UFO one time or maybe several times within half an hour from here. Okay.
Yeah, my first experience actually when I was young was with the others, flying. I remember it distinctly. It was a reality 100%, and on their craft.
Okay.
The really interesting thing was the craft that we used in the military to get to Mars was basically the same thing. So this is when I really started understanding the technology exchange that was going on. And that took us not long. You can get to Mars in 72 hours, really, right now with no problem, faster than that. But the reason that we went so we could understand weightlessness, understand the G-forces that were involved with entering and exiting atmosphere, we had to go through a lot of training, to get to understand this type of stuff, because a lot of people get sick. And that's when I understood that the radiation aspects we didn't have to worry about in space, because the craft, as they had their own shielding around us, we were protected 100%. So usually the first trip that anybody makes going to Mars or anywhere else out in space is in a craft, because they want you to understand that. The jump rooms and things of this nature, jumping back and forth, that's standard policy now. In between ships, in between, different areas of our planet, this is happening on a regular basis. A good example I'll use of this is when I was in the programs and after the programs, I met a gentleman in Santa Cruz, California. We had a conversation about all what we're talking about. Didn't see him. It was a situation where we knew everybody around. All of a sudden, this guy disappeared. 30 years later, I seen him riding down the road on a bicycle. I'm driving in a truck. We pass each other. I look at him. It's the same guy 30 years later. Didn't age a day. He had. He was part of the programs. He was just dropping in to see how things were going. So very interesting things that are going on right now.
One last question I have now.
Sure.
I've seen a documentary these days where they said that these high advanced military planes, just like the SR-71 and the Blackbird, that the newer version of them, that they have some kind of jump gate inside their plane so that they can fly, and when they come in danger or being attacked from other plane maybe or something else, then they push the button, and within 1 second they will be a few thousand miles or on the other side of the country or something like that. Do you know something about that?
Oh, yeah, very true. That's happening on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, they did an experiment one time. They were taking the Aurora out over California from Edwards Air Force Base, and they were flying around testing this aircraft. And I'll talk about one other thing right after this. And he said, I got a problem. They said, take it out over the Pacific and dump the craft if you're going to have a problem, if you're going to crash it. He says, okay, I will. So less than 15 minutes later, he turned around and says, oh, we got it figured out. They said, where are you? He said, I'm over Hawaii. That's where he turned around and came back. Okay. Now, the other thing here, real quick on that, is if you're looking up in the sky and you see a flash and it's no longer there, that's exactly what you're talking about. Okay. They're testing those drives and they're jumping.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. William.
Thank you very much, William, for this interview, and probably we can meet again when there's something new you're willing to tell us in the future.
Okay.
You betcha.
So,
no problem. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Good. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Mars colonies and bases protected by domes in craters. Domes protect structures from meteors, asteroids, etc. The Mars colonies and bases that are built inside craters are protected by domes made from reflective shielding materials so that meteors, asteroids, radiation, and impacts from solar storms cannot damage the structures housed within the domed facilities. As well, the reflective shielding on the domes masks the colonies and bases, so it appears as if the building structures are invisibly cloaked, therefore cannot be spotted with radar, telescopes, or satellites from space. And these domes look like they have glass-like structures. That's the dome itself. It looks like it's glass-like, but it's something different in materials that they're built out from. And inside these domes are the Mars bases as well as moon bases. And these domes are also utilized in Antarctica to build various research facilities, medical ones, as well as bases, black ops bases, extraterrestrial bases, and these domes are also utilized in underwater facilities where they build bases deep on the ocean sea floor. And they use special type of foundation to put the base on, then the dome covers the base or bases, and it protects the base or bases from being flooded with water. It creates like a biodome with a self-sustainable atmosphere. So this is how these domes work. This is what the exterior reflective shielding materials look like, which the domes are made of. These are biodomes that are designed to house large colonies, cities, bases, research facilities, and hydroponics gardens for growing food. There is a breathable atmosphere and gravity within the domes that provides livable habitats for individuals occupying these facilities. The domed facilities also act as perimeter and security measures, as the domes cannot be accessed without authorized clearance from the inhabitants living in them. So there's this type of a electromagnetic frequency field that is around these domes. So it basically protects all the inhabitants, the cities, the bases inside the domes, as well as the colonies. And these electromagnetic fields don't harm the people that walk in and walk out from these domes because they have clearance access to them. They have specialized emitters on their hand that allow them to go through the electromagnetic field. So it's kind of like a force field, but it doesn't harm you. It just deflects various asteroids, meteors, space junk, weapons, laser, phaser, physical projectile weapons. So that's what the domes are designed for, mainly. The domes are built on the surface of Mars within the craters, but domes do not need to be housed within craters. They could be freestanding structures. There are multiple levels built and linked to the dome facilities. Some of these levels go deep underground with elevators or tunnel systems. In the underground facilities, there are top secret research labs in military operations as well. This could include medical, experimental labs, genetic modification, and these labs are deep underground, or they could be attached to bases on the surface that's covered by the domes. These facilities are often built near or within inactive lava tubes, which are already hollow. There are domes that are dedicated for growing forests, gardens, food, and recreational areas with parks, mountains, lakes, and even mini oceans. These domes are designed to create natural green spaces for animals and people without having any cities or bases on the premises for these types of dome facilities. This is specifically done to preserve nature and clean oxygen levels in order to prevent contamination from damaging the plant life in food-growing gardens. There are dome facilities that actually have literal oceans or lakes inside the dome with mountain peaks and you can see the atmosphere of Mars from inside the dome because the dome structure itself is clear from the inside. So you can actually look outside of it when you get close to the glass-like walls, the perimeter of the dome. There are hydroponic gardens utilizing water and mineral nutrients in order to grow plants. It is more efficient to grow plants without using soil on planets like Mars that have arid desert-like climate conditions. Although within the biodomes, temperatures and climates can be adjusted to any type of an environment or environments, so anything will be able to grow within the biodome, whether it needs soil or not. So basically, hydroponic gardens, they don't utilize a lot of soil or water, but it does need nutrients, wood chips, sand, different type of mixtures of supplements. And there are many types of these supplements that could be used for hydroponics gardens. And so it requires little soil or water for hydroponic maintenance of these types of food gardens or even flower gardens. These are example images of what the outside and inside environments look like around and within the dome facilities. This includes military facilities, research facilities, hydroponic gardens, etc. There is electromagnetic shielding covering the outside of all of the built domes, so usually there will be power generators around the domes to provide energy to keep the electromagnetic shielding running efficiently. And these generators, they don't run on electricity, they run on free energy technology and anti-gravity technology. So basically, it's not electricity that's being utilized for the generators. And even the power supply inside the domes, that's not electrically run. It's run with Tesla-like technologies and free energy technology. So the electromagnetic field, this is like a force field or tractor beam that is designed to repel meteors, asteroids, etc. from damaging the dome structures. The electromagnetic shielding temporarily comes down when people leave or enter the domes and is reactivated again once there is nobody standing by the domes. And the people who enter in and leave the domes, they have these little emitters on their hand so they can bring down the shielding of the dome and then reactivate it. Or it's set on a very low frequency so they don't even have to deactivate the shielding when they leave the dome. It really depends on the situation. So basically there's like yellow alert, green alert, red alert, different levels of alert systems for the dome facilities, for the electromagnetic force field type of shielding around it. So, and sometimes there's zero alert, so they don't really need to bring down the shielding at all. They can just set the emitter to very, very low frequency and just leave the dome. And the electromagnetic shield itself is still active, so they don't always have to deactivate it completely. It depends on the alert systems and what's going on in the environment around the domes. Crater impact sites that are created by meteors or asteroids are often deep and round-shaped basin areas, which make them some of the ideal places to build hidden Mars colonies, cities, bases, research laboratories, etc. These locations are camouflaged by reflective electromagnetic shielding around the dome facilities, So radar or telescopes or satellites cannot detect either the domes or the structures built within them. Often, there are several domed facilities which are built beside each other and then connected by corridors so they can easily be navigated to go between the different buildings. To conserve electricity, solar panels, Tesla coils, etc. are often used to power communications facilities. There are also mining operations and refinery facilities located away from cities or colonies. Precious and exotic metals or minerals are extracted on Mars to build spaceships, stations, etc. So electricity is rarely used in facilities that have domes over them. So they have other means of powering the domes and the bases. Solar panels are used, although it depends. Sometimes there's little sun in certain areas of Mars. It depends where you are on the planet, where these domes and bases are built. So there has to be a backup plan if the solar panels can be used. Then Tesla coils, other free energy devices, all that is used for the dome facilities. So these images are examples of the Mars domed cities, communication bases, laboratories, etc. Finding dome cities and bases on Mars. The secret space programs are known to build domed city colonies and bases in craters on Mars. The way to check whether there is a dome in a crater is to go to Google Earth Pro, look up large craters on Mars, save the image or images of it. The crater or craters should have a deep impact site and seem like they have a filled-in look with a slight refractory image overlay. This is how you can tell that there is likely a dome, with cities or bases built into the crater or craters. Once you have finished your crater search in Google Earth Pro, having your collection of images, then open Photoshop, go to Image, Adjustments, Invert, then go to Edit, Fade Invert, beside Mode select Luminosity, press OK. After that, go to Image, Adjustments, Hue/Saturation, and slightly adjust the saturation of the image to less brightness to make out the opalescent white glowing reflections of the domed city or base in your image. Removing some of the saturation from the image adds detail to the clarity and shape of the dome or domes. Locations of domed cities and bases on Mars. In the below presentation of coordinates for domed cities and bases on Mars, 3 variants of images will be shown. First image will show an empty crater. Second image will show inverted crater image with high color saturation to show the depth of the dome. And third image will show the dome with less color to define its shape characteristics. Coordinates, locations, and names of surrounding areas where the domes are located will be provided along with the map images. So when somebody is looking for various crater impact sites on Google Earth Pro, it's best to save all the images that you find, the original craters, and then when you invert the images and you see the dome layer over the crater sites, save those images again as a separately titled file. That way you have examples of the crater without anything there, and then once you invert the image and adjust the color parameters, then you have the secondary image with the overlay of the dome on top of the crater. And it's best to have samples of the original crater without the dome, and then the adjusted image that's been inverted and color adjusted with the refractory dome over the crater. That way you could show both examples to say, well, this is how this was done, and that's how you find the domes over cities, bases, research facilities, etc. on Mars, as well as on the moon and elsewhere. With the moon, it's a little bit more difficult because when you go to Google Earth Pro, the moon is in grayscale, which makes it a little bit harder to find these craters where the domes would be, because it's grayscale and it has black scale as well. The moon is really not gray. There are parts that are greenish blue. It's not all gray. It's kind of mixed in with gray, green, and blue. But for some reason, NASA decided to do everything in grayscale for the moon, which makes it really hard to look for these domes. And I've tried with the moon, and it's not very easy to do. It's much easier to do with Mars because it's in brown scale, although Mars does have a reddish tint, and also it has variations of greens and blues because there are foliages on Mars. There's little shrubbery, there's small forests, there's bodies of water. It's all on a small scale, but it's there because Mars does have a thin atmosphere. So it is there. But again, NASA chooses to show Mars on its maps in brown scale, which does make it easier to find the domes in the craters, but it's much harder with the moon. I did not have much luck with the moon to do it. This is set 1, where the image is showing the craters without the dome. So this image has not been yet inverted. This is a domed city of a Mars colony near Utopia Planitia, coordinates 54, 59, 29.86 north, 133, 14, 36.71 east. This is set 1 again, where the inverted image has been done, and it's showing the dome system of the Mars colony near Utopia Planitia. This is yet again set 1, but with saturation and hue color decrease, so you can see better the opalescence and refraction of the dome over the crater. Set 2 with empty craters. And I just want to mention that these craters are not calderas, and they're not lava flow mountain covers either. They're not. They're just empty craters, because sometimes you have what looks like a caldera, which can be mistaken for a deep impact site crater. There's a difference. These are not calderas or lava flow mountains that are extinct now. So these are not any of those things. They're just empty craters. So set 2 has a domed city of a Mars colony in the Bonestell crater, and there's also possibly a city in the second crater. The coordinates are 42, 17, 10.23 north, 30, 51, 40.01 west. So this is set 2 again with the inverted image where it's showing the domes over both craters. One is in the Bonestell crater and the second smaller crater, which so far as I could find, I could not find a name for it. This is set 2 again with the hue and saturation decrease in color. So again, you could see the refractory and opalescent dome a little bit better, especially in the Bonestell crater. So you could just see it in a bit more of a contrast without the color. Because you could see it in color, it's the background also shows around the crater. When you decrease the hue and saturation, you could see more of the crater and the background is not so distracting when you're looking at these images. This is set 3 with 2 empty craters. There's domed cities of Mars colonies near the Cygnus Rupus area. Coordinates are 54, 34, 56, 27 north, 105, 14, 30.75 east. This is set 3 where the craters have been inverted and you can see both set of domes of the cities of Mars colonies near the Cygnus Rupus area. This is again set 3 where the hue and saturation has been decreased for the colors, so you can see the domes much better in the craters instead of seeing the background itself so much in the image. Set 4, empty crater, domed city of Mars colony near Pangaea Rupus, coordinates 60, 15, 27.48 north, 123, 30, 8.66 east. So this is set 4 again, where the image has been inverted and you could clearly see the dome over the crater of the Mars colony near Pangaea Rupus. So this is set 4 again, where the hue and saturation of the color has been decreased in the image itself, so you could see better the dome structure over the crater impact site. And this is a pretty big dome that has the Mars colony near Pangaea Rupus. So it's a very large colony inside this dome. This is set 5, which is the secret research lab beside the Mars ICC Base 5 near Cerberus Pallas, coordinates 10, 25, 33.12 north, 150, 16, 55.26 east. So the Mars ICC Base 5 is actually near the crater, not within the crater itself, but beside the base there are underground cavern systems where top secret labs are being housed. So it's underground of the base. And it's beside a crater. Now, these are all searchable coordinates of locations from Google Earth. These sets are for Mars, so you would have to go to the Mars maps in Google Earth to find all of these coordinates. So this image is before the inversion process. and it's quite interesting what you'll see in the next image once the inversion has been done. So this is again set 5 with the Mars ICC base 5 and the various underground cavern systems where top secret labs are being housed. And I had actually been, when I was active in the SSP as an SSP asset, I had been on the Mars ICC base 5. That's where I had been stationed. So I remember this space quite well, and it's beside a crater which has a dome over it as well. So I'm not quite sure what's in that dome, but I know there's also a base beside the crater, and underground there are research labs which are secret. So this one in particular is very interesting to me because I was actually there in that facility. Not in the research labs themselves, but I was at the Mars ICC base 5. And I never had a peek what was inside the dome in that particular crater. So that's a mystery I'd like to remember, hopefully. I'd like to find out what's inside that dome. Inside the secret space programs, bases and living arrangements. Now, the locations are for the Mars bases and for the Moon bases of various SSP factions. There are bases that are inside craters on the Moon and Mars. The left-hand image shows a replicator unit. The replicator unit has data banks of schematics for how to replicate items. In the middle are various types, examples of uniforms that SSP personnel wear on the bases. It could be jumpsuits. It could be form-fitted uniforms that look more official. It depends on the rank of the personnel that are stationed on either the Moon bases or the Mars bases. And on the right-hand side, you have the stealth suit. It has an oxygen helmet that comes with it. The replicator technology can create food, clothing, uniforms, stealth suits, etc. All crew quarters have basic replicators to meet daily living needs on bases and ships. SSP base crew quarters. Most of the SSP crew quarters on bases have 12 bunk beds per group working unit. There are usually 2 tables in the large unit living quarters with 4 chairs each per table for conference calls or work discussion meetings. The crew quarters have built-in wall storage units that retract for storing personal possessions and work-related items. There are bathroom and washing facilities located near each of the bunking room units. The private corporations that build out these bases on Mars and the Moon, like the Planetary Corporations and the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, they do not have to answer to the public, since these corporations are up in space. They do have affiliations with Earth, with various aerospace contractors, with medical research facilities on Earth, and other secret black ops spaces and everything in between that as well. So there are connections between these planetary corporations. But since they're in space, they don't have to answer to anybody but themselves. So basically, there's no oversight in freedom of people. Freedom of people, yeah. Rights and freedoms. There's no oversight for that. Basically, you're kidnapped, you're taken into these programs, and you're put to work on these bases. And the way the bases are run is military style, as you can see in the images. You eat, you sleep, you work, and you repeat the cycle again. And then you have some leisure downtime, a little bit of it, so you can decompress, and then you have to get back to work again. That's how the work rotations happen on these bases. And then after a couple of years, you're rotated to other bases for different jobs or missions. As well, you're put on ships, either near Earth or Moon or Mars orbit, or somewhere in the solar system or outside of the solar system. Or you could be put on a space orbital platform, which are space stations, basically, that orbit around the Moon, the Earth, or Mars, and they're cloaked space stations. Now, the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate ICC faction, they have 4 Mars orbital space station platforms orbiting Mars, and they're all cloaked. That's newer style technology of orbital space station platforms. And sometimes SSP assets are stationed there for various research projects and job tasks of a scientific nature. Senior personnel base crew quarters. The senior personnel have living quarters that are not shared with other crew members. These quarters include a large room with a bed, recliner, chairs, desks, and a medium-sized bathroom with a sonic shower, sink, and toilet. There is also an entryway hall with retractable wall storage cabinets, and cases. Senior personnel base crew quarters. Some of the larger quarters that are assigned to captains have sofas and tables in case the captains need to entertain guests or have meetings with crew personnel about project reports and briefings about classified intelligence. A temporary solid partition can slide down from the ceiling in order to separate the seating areas from the sleeping arrangements. It is rare that the entertainment area in a captain's quarters is used for bringing in guests, only if all other meeting rooms or halls are booked on a base or ship. Crew quarters near engineering and the science deck. The engineering and science teams usually have their living quarters near the command stations that they are assigned to. These quarters are minimally furnished with a bed, table, and a sofa. There are bookcases, stackable storage bins, and cabinets in these types of living quarters, as well as sometimes having retractable freezer units in the walls with research specimen samples. Single living crew quarters, bathroom. The senior personnel crew who have single quarters also have an adjacent bathroom with a medium-sized steam vapor and sonic shower, sonic sink with mirror, and a compact toilet. The bathroom has enough room to move around in and also a sitting bench in the shower area that has glass sliding doors. Shared crew quarters have small sonic shower stalls. These do not have the steam vapor features like the larger bathrooms have. And on the Mars bases, you won't find toilet paper. that's considered wasteful. So there's other ways of drying your hands, and also when you go on the toilet, it's actually a smart toilet. So it does something interesting, and it works in a very interesting way as well to replace toilet paper. Sonic sinks and showers in base bathrooms. The sonic sinks and showers emit bluish-white energy beams with small amounts of water that clean the body and remove any bacteria. This technology does not use much water, as that is at a premium on bases, especially on Mars. Sonic shower and sink technology uses pulses of ultrasonic vibrations in order to remove dirt and grime from someone's body by vibrating/evaporating residue. This technology is a combination of steam jets and high-frequency ultrasonic low-amplitude acoustic generators, which are employed in order to bathe the user in a thin film of water condensate, which would then be vibrated, thus initiating the cleansing function. A few drops of liquid soap are all that is required to dissolve whatever sweat and dirt which can accumulate since the last shower session. Sonic sinks and showers in base bathrooms. Since the sonic sinks and showers use very little amounts of water, it makes this technology efficient in terms of being able to reduce water consumption during hand washing or bathing, especially on the Mars bases. The water is recycled and goes through a purification process on the bases and ships, so it can be reused. Sonic technology also reduces power levels, so less energy is needed to operate the sinks and showers. Smart technology toilets. The smart toilets have seats that raise automatically after use, and there are self-cleaning sensor systems that sanitize the toilet with a hot steam substance and a UV light to remove germs and bacteria. These toilets have retractable spritzing wands and automatic dryers in order to wash someone from behind and in front with water, then dry without using toilet paper. This reduces waste. The smart technology toilets have computerized systems which can adjust temperature, direction, and pressure control of the spritzing wands or the dryers. As well, the smart toilet seats have a warming setting, automatic motion sensors to raise the lid, buttons to raise the seat, night lights, self-cleansing mechanisms, music to mask unpleasant sounds, and deodorizer spritzers to remove unwanted scents. On the right-hand side is a compact and computerized smart technology toilet design system. On the left-hand side is the spritzing wands, which wash both from the behind and the front. Then the dryer dries the back and front. Takes a couple of minutes and no need for toilet paper after you have finished your business. On the smart toilet, otherwise known as a bidet on Earth. On Mars, it's called a smart toilet. There's also pressure adjustable and retractable spritzing washing wands on the smart technology toilets. And that's what I just described below the image. A spritzing wand. Shower combinations on the bases. There are different types of shower combinations on the bases. These can include a vapor fog shower, which emits steam in order to clean the body and remove aches and pains. There are sonic showers, which emit the bluish-white energy beams to cleanse the body with only small amounts of water used. As well, the more premium bathrooms do have water-based showers. There are some time restrictions for how long an individual can take a water shower, as water is at a premium on off-world bases and ships. The shower stalls are not large. The enclosures are compact in order to fit into the smaller and medium-sized bathrooms on bases and ships. Moon bases are built either in craters or near craters. The circular shapes of craters help to build the dome housing to base entrances and to mask them as hills or rubble, so they are hard to see from space. The bases on the Moon and Mars are built in multiple levels that go underground. There are parts of the Moon that cannot be seen by satellites or telescopes, portions of the dark side of the Moon, and it makes it easier to land craft there without being spotted or seen by radar, by telescopes, or satellites that are up in Earth orbit and near Mars orbit, near the Moon as well. This presentation had been made a year and a half ago, and since then I have learned that Lunar Operations Command is actually called Lunar Space Operations because the LSP has actually several different bases on the Moon, and it has also other bases in the solar system. So it's not called Lunar Operations Command. From my memories that I've been able to recover through hypnosis regression, it's called Lunar Space Operations. And for short, I call it LSP. I've substituted the O for P because it just sounds more professional. LSP. Lunar Space Operations for short. And the following are coordinates of various locations that came from my hypnosis regression sessions of where I had been on the Moon as an SSP asset where I was placed, and as well on the ICC Mars bases. I now call the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, ICC, I call it Planetary Corporations, because that's something else that came up in the hypnosis regression, a different name for it. And these are actual coordinates of locations and sites where I had been, and they're searchable on Google Earth. The first sets will be the Moon of the coordinates. The place is Lunar Operations Command, which is now called Lunar Space Operations. That's the new terminology. The set of directions are 83, 48, 59.26 south, 118, 30, 06.85 east. Elevation is 14,515 feet. Secret Space Program Research Lab facilities on the Moon. Set of directions 85, 11, 29.26 22.68 south, 178.2234.98 west. Elevation 17,284 feet. Secret Space Program Port Docking Facility on the Moon. Set of directions 75, 27, 40.90 south, 132, 49, 17.15 east. Elevation 14,939 feet. Dark Fleet Primary Base, which I now remember it to be as Nachtwaffenregier, which is part German and also part Spanish. And the Nachtwaffenregier, Dark Fleet, primary base is on the Moon. Set of directions is 25, 40, 02.14 north, 21, 12, 05.42 west. Elevation 11,431 feet. Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate Primary Base. Now, from the hypnosis regression, I found out that the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate is called the Planetary Corporations. And this ICC primary base is on the Moon. Set of directions are 26, 39, 16.11 north, 13, 29, 35.97 west. Elevation 9,846 feet. Space landing port for ships. The location for this is on the Moon, and there's a notation for this. There is a large research facility, SSP Secret Space Program, beside the spaceport. Set of directions 43, 31, 45.37 south, 11, 18, 01.53 west. Elevation 8,875 feet. Mining operations of the SSP Secret Space Program. Location on the Moon. Set of directions 20, 33, 30.83 south, 95, 50, 42.69 west. Elevation 9,762 feet. Most of the Mars bases are on the northern part of Mars, where all the manufacturing plants are located and the research facilities are housed. There are Martian bases and colonies located in the equatorial portions of Mars. Mars Colony 1. Location Mars. Set of directions 72, 23, 54.85 north, 164, 21, 33.49 east. Elevation 17,021 feet. Mars Colony 2. Location Mars. Set of directions 4813, 32.38 north, 139, 29, 04.55 east. Elevation 18,411 feet. Mars ICC Base 1. Location Mars. Set of directions 8, 59, 31.52 south, 115, 40, 29.16 west. Elevation 22,771 feet. Mars ICC Base 2, location Mars. Notations: one of the largest manufacturing bases and laboratories. Set of directions: 62, 20, 13.43 north, 142, 11, 38.35 east. Elevation: 14,420 feet. Mars ICC Base 3, location Mars. Notations: research installation facility inside the crater. Set of directions: 3, 57, 31.94 north, 111, 09, 46.95 west. Elevation: 15,043 feet. Mars ICC Base 5, location Mars. Set of directions: 6107, 22.47 north, 1042, 17.39 west. Elevation: 16,241 feet. Mars ICC Base 5, location Mars. Notations: beside the base are underground cavern systems where top secret labs are being housed. Set of directions: 10, 25, 33.12 north, 150, 16, 55.26 east. And there's another note in the previous presentation that had been done on the Mars domes, bases, and cities. Beside Mars ICC Base 5, there's a crater. And when the image had been inverted, it showed that there's some kind of a dome facility in the crater itself. Now, I don't know what's inside the dome facility. I only know that there's underground cavern systems where top secret labs are being housed underneath the base itself, Mars ICC Base 5. So the labs are under the base. So perhaps there's more to the labs than just underground. Perhaps they're also in the domed facility. The dome probably protects another lab research facility inside the crater. And the elevation is 7,820 feet. Mars ICC Base 6, location Mars. Set of directions: 9, 44, 37, 05 south, 103, 03, 28.71 west. Elevation: 23,091 feet. Mars ICC Base 7, location Mars. Set of directions: 26, 38, 20.95 north, 76, 55, 18.16 west. Elevation: 2,399 feet. Mars ICC Base 8, location Mars. Set of directions: 8, 50, 56.38 south, 87, 53, 59.81 west. Elevation: 16,257 feet. Mars ICC Base 9, Location, Mars. Set of directions, 200624.86 south, 107.3625.83 west. Elevation, 18,136 feet. Mars ICC Base 10, location, Mars. Set of directions, 4138.37.23 north, 4421.14.97 east. Elevation, 8,946 feet. Mars ICC Base 11, location, Mars. Set of directions, 1723.15.91 north, 6846.53.36 west. Elevation, 4,856 feet. Mars Weapons Testing Facility 1, location, Mars. Set of directions, 1521.00.38 south, 108.2305.56 west. Elevation, 19,734 feet. Mars Weapons Testing Facility 2, location, Mars. Set of directions, 2926.41.26 north, 106.2804.05 west. Elevation, 7,716 feet. Cyborg Medical ICC Labs on Mars bases. Cybernetic Labs on Mars bases. The cybernetic labs on the Mars ICC bases create semi-human augmented cyborg soldiers and scouts in order to trade them to other advanced ET species as part of the slave organization, which acquires medical serums to stop diseases, reverse the aging process, or end the aging process completely, receiving technology that is hundreds of years more advanced that they can implement for building better ships, colony facilities, various space stations, weaponry, healing, medical pods, etc., as well as gaining rights for more trading routes in space and access to planets where they can build their colonies. The ICC labs use both living and dead body parts for harvesting purposes in order to merge cybernetic technology with the human body component. Human bones can be used for cyborg creation. Only the best tissue matter, body parts, and DNA is selected for splicing with cybernetic technology. There are lab technicians who monitor the selection process for building the human cyborgs. So it's like being a quality control body parts technician. That's what the lab technicians do on these cybernetic labs on Mars that are attached to the ICC Mars bases or in underground laboratory research facilities. On the right-hand side is the interior of the ICC Mars cybernetic labs and holding facilities for testing of biohuman and cybernetic technology, compatibility for genetic matches. This is where the abducted human slaves are brought in order to conduct the cyborg/human integration process. On the left-hand side is the ICC Mars cybernetic labs. They have cryogenic storage units where body parts, bones, tissue, and DNA samples are stored from unwilling test subjects. that were slated to be acquired for the cybernetic programs and experiments. On the right-hand side are examples of exoskeleton suits and armor configurations, and these various suits can be different in color, and they could be different in capabilities of what they could do. They're sort of like smart suits, and there's also helmets for them, and they can create their own atmospheric environments with the helmet on, so you could be in any type of a planetary environment and survive in the suit for a while. It adjusts your environmental parameters in the suit as well. It monitors your physical health, emotional state. It gathers telemetry on how you're doing physically. In terms of health-wise, if you break an arm or sprain a leg, medication comes out from the suit to numb the pain, so you don't feel the pain, and it has components inside the suit which are healing as well, so it somehow heals your body as you're wearing the suit until you can get to a holographic medical pod or a portable Meditech unit to heal whatever's broken in the body. And on the left-hand side are the physical/computer medical checkup of the eyes and other body parts of the human/cyborg soldiers or scouts after the cybernetic integration process has been done to make sure that individuals are at optimal health levels, as well as getting biophysical and genetic readouts to fit individuals for their exoskeleton suits or armor configured to their genetic type. So after the human cyborg integration process has happened, basically the asset is fitted for their exoskeleton suit and armor configuration. It's specifically designed for their DNA and for their genetic type, so nobody else can wear the suit except that individual for whom the suit has been configured biologically. On the right-hand side are the fluidic tank chambers used to create hybrid species of splicing alien DNA and animal with human genetics to form super soldiers, scouts, etc. On the left-hand side are tank chambers with fluidic material to alter genetic structures and DNA sequences. Cybernetic robots are created in these chambers and can have alien characteristics to be remote controlled. Nazi German Third and Fourth Reich scientists using electromagnetic field stasis unit to contain soul energy before it is transferred into a human cybernetic being. Abducted/kidnapped humans and slaves hang on hooks in the ICC labs with dripping blood awaiting the soul transfer protocol. Now, these were the early stages of the soul transference technology that's being shown here. So the electromagnetic stasis field units were huge in the beginning when they started experimenting with soul transference technology. Now the units are much smaller in size, and the containment field is just as big as the original unit, but the units themselves are now much smaller. So those were just the beginning stages of where the scientists, the Nazi German scientists, were experimenting with the soul transference technology on Mars. On the left-hand side is the stasis containment unit where electrical field holds the soul until it is ready to be implanted into the cyborg/human augmented soldiers and scouts. On the right-hand side is the egg-shaped containment stasis field for holding a soul. Sometimes the soul energy that has been taken out of one being will be stored in containment for a while, so it will need a strong electrically charged unit to hold it before final soul transfer into a cybernetic body is completed. The soul energetic and vibrational patterns might also be changed in the egg-like electrical stasis holding chamber, so the soul cannot remember most of its old memory engrams. Containment fluidic chambers with green goo that hold the soldiers and scouts that are in the process of cybernetic augmentation. These chambers have fluid that can alter genetics and DNA, as well as heal brain damage, regenerate body parts, etc. The containment chambers can also act as torture technology to break down the psyche of the beings which are being held in these chambers. Abducted and kidnapped people are held in these chambers for months at a time. Cyborg/human soldiers and scouts being put into cryostasis units in ICC Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate labs on Mars, now known as the Planetary Corporations. These soldiers/scouts will be traded to various CT groups in exchange for having advanced technology, medicine, trading rights in space lanes, mining privileges, building of outposts, space stations, and the colonization of other planets out beyond the solar system. Cyborg/human soldiers and scouts being conditioned to take programming and orders in the ICC labs connected to Mars bases. This can involve mind control and memory manipulation, with holographic inserts of various types of memories that are false or fake. The soldiers and scouts are exposed to holographic scenarios where they are tested in simulation programs to see how they will react to live situations in terms of combat readiness, encountering aliens, taking orders, not questioning orders, as well as to create brainwashing and false memory implantation, so the individuals are programmed for specific tasks or mission parameters. When there are holographic scenarios involved, the soldiers and scouts experience situations that feel to them like real events which are happening in current life. There are electrical chairs and laser technology that can alter the brain patterns of individuals in order to simulate false or implanted memories, making people believe that they experienced an event or situation in their lives that feels very real to them, but never actually happened in reality. As well, there are mind control helmets that can simulate virtual reality, making people think that they are seeing something in front of themselves which is not really there. Mind trauma is created in order to scare people, cause fear, in order to fracture the mind and soul, thereby breaking the person and making them weak in spirit. This creates vulnerability, so people can easily be controlled to do unspeakable things or acts that they would normally never do. ICC agents checking/monitoring the process of how other agents are receiving mind programming protocols/instructions in order to be ready and prepared to go out on active missions. This is happening on the Mars bases and in the ICC labs, as well as on other planets in solar systems. Experiments being done for crossbreeding of human and ET hybrids, as well as genetically modifying humans to create super soldiers. Often the super soldiers have advanced abilities like becoming invisible, being able to change weather, work with water manipulation, fire, electricity, and have fast reflexes, as well as strength. Other super soldiers are crossbred with animal genetics and can shapeshift into animals or partial animal human forms or forms. Now, these types of experiments are done in Area 51 and also in Antarctica research labs. On the right-hand side is an example of what a replication lab looks like with regeneration chambers and tanks. On the left-hand side are the ICC labs on Mars, which have genetic and DNA vaults, which house genetic material of the human species, animals, plants, minerals, etc. From these genetic vaults, replication of the species can be done and repopulation can be created if there is a catastrophe on Earth or other SSP colonies on different planets. The medical pods and stasis transfer holopods are manufactured on the ICC Mars labs, which are located near the Mars base facilities with heavy security. There are also regeneration stations which can scan the body for minor damage like broken bones, burns, or tissue damage, and regenerate bones, cartilage, tissues, etc., so there is no physical damage left to the body. For complete body and brain repair, the holographic medical pods need to be used in order to remove all disease and heavy, unrepairable damage, as well as reviving those that have died recently and been dead for close to 14 as well as 20 hours in duration time. Holding facilities with electric restraints when testing subjects for genetic modification to create super soldiers with augmented psionic abilities. Many times the subjects are sedated, so they do not remember what genetic procedures were being done to them. Holographic medical scanner connected to both the subject and the scientist through a Neuralink electrode connection. The scientist can see the subject's body parts and organs in order to be able to make cuts and incisions for where body parts will be spliced with cybernetically augmented technology. There are laser and cutting implements hanging above the holographic scanner for when the augmentation process starts. The ICC cybernetic labs have facilities for creating Neuralink implants that are made from nanotechnology in gold fiber optics, which are small filaments of gold interwoven into the neurons and the axons of the human brain. There are ocular Neuralink implants and also deep brain matter fiber implants. These implants record visual telemetry as well as audio of where individuals go off-world, who they meet, and what type of information the brain is processing. All this recorded telemetry information is sent through the Neuralink brainwave interface to the ICC holographic virtual databases for file classification on different agents, assets, mission intel, ships, planets, aliens, etc. The Neuralink implants are also used to create telepathic connections to be able to interact with onboard ship systems using the mind through technology connection. And this technology is often thought-assisted consciousness with using the nanotech technology that's infused in the Neuralink implants. Pilots use the Neuralink interface to merge with supercomputers in order to program flight parameters into ships for navigation and operate the ships this way, as well as communicate with others telepathically who have Neuralink implants. These implants can also act as language translation devices and also augment the brain to have photographic/eidetic memory, or open natural stargateway portals with the mind in order to travel to different planets or star systems. These are methods of teleportation. The Neuralink chairs are technology that allow augmented humans with Neuralink implants to connect with the neuro interface of the cybernetic chair tech and be able to track or monitor individuals at any time, as well as view any events happening on the planet or out in space. These Neuralink chairs can be adapted to view timeline events either backwards in time or forwards in time, as well as open Stargateway portals in order to travel to various points on planets or even different solar systems. The Neuralink chairs allow to create holographic constructs where individuals communicate with each other in real time through a virtual biofeedback slipstream loop in their minds, seeing places, locations, and other people interacting with each other. As well, the Neuralink chairs can be used to download information or upload data to them, archive memories, and retrieve information from various databases. The ICC scientists use medical serums to alter the body chemistry in order to be able to change genetic characteristics of people. This happens where body mass or shape can turn into humanoid-looking ETs temporarily, then return the people to looking back to human after a while or short time. As well, the scientists have the ability to combine cybernetic technology with the biological functions of the human body to create augmented cyborgs. There are stasis transfer units in which human slaves, augmented soldiers, and scouts are transported in when they are traded to ET species. The slaves are used for different purposes like slave labor, sex trafficking, mind control, military uses, medical experiments, etc. The trading and transfer of slaves happens on many of the highly guarded ICC Mars labs and training facilities. As well, the ICC has 4 different cloaked Mars Station orbiter platforms where aliens can go to bargain for trading of humans. Most trading of the human slaves happens on the orbiter stations and off-planet, so these unethical practices cannot be easily observed/reported to the Secret Space Program Alliance. And now it has been discovered that the Secret Space Program Alliance may not even exist. Because in my hypnosis sessions, I never actually remembered a Secret Space Program Alliance, so there may not be any place to report these abductions, slave labor trading with extraterrestrials, all these types of experiments. There may not even be a Secret Space Program Alliance. In insurance on Earth, a human life is worth around $300,000. It is true, some get a lot more, and also some get a lot less. This is talking here about accidents to humans on Earth, not really servitude, indenturement, or slavery. So, how much is a human life insurance? Value in this part of the Secret Space Program worth? Holopods do require a certain amount of time, personnel, and resources to operate. Is this an additional term to a policy for the above-mentioned statement. The holopod unit that keeps the humans in stasis while handed over to the ET is pre-programmed to keep the human sleeping, so it does not take much for it to be operated. It is handed over with the human to the ET and no longer the ICC's to handle. It's for trade bargains, etc. Slaves wear metallic collars, which are electronic, so they behave and do not try to escape. The collars can create pain to keep slaves in line. The collars are worn around the neck, hands, or on the feet. And these electronically operated collars, they can create seizures, they can create nosebleeds, ear bleeds, migraines, headaches. They can electric shock somebody. So it can create a lot of different pain and injuries, depending what level it's set at of the pain threshold. So these collars can do a lot of damage to human bodies. But who fixes the holopod if it breaks down or needs upgrades for the humans? And if a being has one holopod already for one human, that being would surely not buy another holopod if they acquire more humans. So one holopod could be servicing many humans. Hence, wear and tear from usage on one holopod would be high. So this one unit would require maintenance to keep a number of humans healthy and well. The holopod units are already provided when the ET trades to have a human slaves. It's part of the original agreement. Holopods are only to transfer the human into ET custody. Then the human is no longer in the holopod. This holopod is not a medical healing pod. Various pods have different purposes. The pod is to keep the human sleeping temporarily, so it cannot escape its ET master. The humans become ET slaves after they are taken out of the holopods. Medical pods / holopods hypothesis. Holopods should have the capabilities to keep slaves maintenance-free as pertains to physical and mental health. Any being purchasing or trading for one or more humans would demand this, because there may not be facilities for the health of humans where they are going. In fact, if you look at it from the extraterrestrials' point of view, they also would carry their own type of holopod with them when they are away from home. After all, these extraterrestrial beings could not depend on some other extraterrestrial being to know their medical physiology and have a doctor just for them. Also, in transit across a solar system or galaxy, the being would have to provide their own technology for medical emergency for themselves. It would be important to make sure that these holopods have upgrades for medical physiology of human slaves, as buyers and traders would likely demand this. Informational credit, Theodore Hahn from the Secret Space Program group on Facebook. The ICC Mars Labs build full AI artificial intelligence androids and robots that operate some of the cloaked Mars station orbiter platforms. These androids and robots have human-looking features, but their skin color could be silver or gray to distinguish them from the cyborgs, which are partially human spliced with cybernetic technology. And the cyborgs look very human-like. As an example, like the Cylons from Battlestar Galactica. They look fully human with human skin, colors, hair, eyes, fully sentient thought processes, their own minds, just like humans but augmented with cybernetics. The AI androids and robots interface with various computer systems in order to maintain and repair ships or space stations which are located near Mars' planetary orbit. On the left-hand side, this is an example image to represent how an artificial intelligence AI android or robot is being built. Surgical Medical Center, run by a military industrial complex secret space program, MIC/SSP. These surgical centers have age regression pods, holographic pods with medical lasers to regenerate missing body parts, heal wounds like burns or scars with gel serums, and do body scans for health checks. The age regression pods look like MRI machines that are used to scan the human body currently in Earth hospitals. The age regression pods have time dilation technology which can change the temporal condition of living beings by dialing forward the zero time reference axis in the biological systems of humans, while the time dilation mechanism shifts time backwards to balance the process. There are magnets inside some of the holographic pods that can trigger memory recall or erase traumatic memories/experiences from the brain. This image represents various medical healing pods, regeneration tanks, and healing tubes. On the bottom left-hand side is an example of an age regression pod. On the right-hand side are examples of a regeneration tank on the bottom, and also medical healing station on the top of the image. Age regression pod with bioscanners checking the body to make sure there are no wounds, scars, or emotional trauma before an individual is regressed into a young age stage from their current older age. The age regression pod can fix skin tissue damage and various types of burns. So literally, the holographic medical pod, it can, if all of your skin is damaged somehow on the body, like 100% of the body, the skin is damaged on it, the holographic medical pods can regenerate new healthy living skin and tissues. So sometimes in this image it shows that this person has been wounded, so they have literally almost no skin over their body. So this can happen sometimes on missions in the various SSP factions. So the holographic medical pods can literally fix that kind of severe damage where you have a lot of burns or almost no skin on your body. The pods can regenerate the skin and tissue, like living cells, stem cells, tissue, skin. It can regenerate practically anything and keep you alive. Regeneration tanks with green substance, which is like a green goo. These tanks can regrow body parts and fix trauma, damage to the nervous system, central nervous system, autoimmune system, and the brain. Memory recall and regression sessions in liquid pools with Visor virtual reality technology in order to recover ET, past life memories, and experiences. That's one of the reasons the secret space program factions and groups actually take civilians or military personnel, especially if they've had profiles of having past lives of being extraterrestrials. So if you've been an extraterrestrial and have had many different past life experiences as ETs, you have certain abilities, certain technological knowledge, and also knowledge about different planets, solar systems, dimensions, etc., etc. This type of information is very important and very coveted for the secret space programs, and they could actually retrieve the past life memories of you being an ET from your brain and input it into their virtual reality databases. So they'll know everything that you ever knew as an extraterrestrial or various extraterrestrials from past lifetimes. So that type of information is very valuable to the secret space programs because they could build out advanced technologies, improve different medical systems that are also advanced. This is like gold to them. It's very valuable information, and they want it. They always do. This is an example image of a Ingram Memory Review Station. So this Memory Ingram Review Station is viewing memory recall of an individual's life. It also has the capacity for blank slating of memories, implanting different memory engrams into the person's brain. So these memory engram stations have various different capabilities of what they can do to a person's brain. They could literally erase everything you've ever known about yourself, all of your memories, whether short-term memories or long-term memories, it does not matter. It could create a totally new personality for you. So the memory engram stations aren't just used to review memory recall of individuals' life. It could be used for virtually anything, to erase memories, to create new memories, to layer memory engrams, one on top of another. It can even give you somebody else's memories. The secret space programs have very advanced research labs that have created technology that could literally make you into a different personality, so to speak. Give you a different alter, so you think you're somebody else. And you can have many different alters in your brain that can be activated at any time. Disclosure about the secret space programs and the Dark Fleet. Not Waffen Regier. The images in this presentation come from the internet, from video games like Mass Effect and other resources that promote disclosure, which is hidden in plain sight to see. Most of this disclosure showcases various groups of the secret space programs and how they operate. Human moon bases and colonies. This is approximately what the Lunar Operations Command, LOC, now known as Lunar Space Operations, LSP, base looks like on the moon that the highest tier of the secret space program is in charge of. The base is made up of polymer non-destructible, biodegradable materials and shield reflective plexiglass windows. Now, Lunar Space Operations has multiple bases on the moon as well as on other planets in the solar system that's been recently discovered through hypnosis sessions. As well, there are dome cities on the moon with human colonies. These cities have a sustainable atmosphere and gravity, so human populations can live in them for prolonged periods of time. Originally, there had been domed cities built on the moon by the ancient builder races, and the SSP reverse engineered the architecture of these cities in order to build their own bases, as well as livable habitat colonies on the moon, Mars, and other planets in our solar system and beyond. On the left-hand side is the SSP Alliance Martian Dome Cities. This is a dome city that is made of non-breakable plexiglass polymer materials and various bioalloys that are mined throughout the solar system. There are range rovers, which take workers and passengers between the SSP bases and cities to complete work detail or research projects. On the right-hand side are the hydroponic and aquaponics gardens. The SSP programs grow hydroponic and aquaponics gardens that do not require soil in order for plants and vegetation to grow successfully. There are special irrigation methods that allow for this to be done. Hydroponic and aquaponics gardens. Martian hydroponics and aquaponics crews planting vegetables, plants, and food in the newly constructed gardens. Hydroponic and aquaponics facilities. Fully functioning gardens growing hydroponics and aquaponics produce on Mars. This is the basis for learning how bio-living plants grow in harsh environments. Hydroponics city garden on Mars. Hydroponics gardening is a subset of hydroculture and is a method of growing plants using mineral nutrient solutions in water without the use of soil. Terrestrial plants may be grown with their roots in the mineral solution only or in an inert medium such as perlite, gravel, sand, etc. The nutrients in hydroponics can be from fresh waste, organic fertilizer, normal nutrients, or from duck manure. Prototype dome for park space. This is a prototype biodome for building park green spaces in the Martian cities. It is important to have green spaces on planetary colonies as they provide breathable oxygen and also places where individuals can go to relax as well as socialize with each other when they are not working. Eventually, when Mars is fully terraformed, there will be a complete atmosphere, so parks and forests will not need to be growing inside biodomes, and oceans as well as lakes will naturally form on the planet. The secret space programs have already begun to terraform Mars, to build out a full atmosphere, and to also creating these various biodomes with different types of plant life, animals, etc., to eventually not need the biodomes. So Mars could be a self-sustainable planet with an Earth-type atmosphere and to eventually be like an Earth, except it's Mars. Through recent hypnosis sessions, I have discovered that there might not be an SSP alliance per se. So I'm trying to make that clear right now because this presentation had been done earlier, several years ago. So just for clarification, SSP Alliance Martian rovers. On the left-hand side is a transportation rover with people wearing slim space suits, which are smart suits. And on the top image is a heavy-duty terrain rover designed for mining expeditions and for transporting building materials across Mars from base to base and research facilities. The mining and building crews wear heavy-duty suits to protect them from the Martian outdoor weather elements, sandstorms, and solar space storms. SSP Mars Settlement Stations. The first SSP Mars settlement stations were made up of a few buildings and biodomes before special polymer materials were created to build bases, cities, etc., as well as using mining deposits on Mars for stronger building alloys. SSP Alliance Martian Trading City Base. This is one of the SSP Martian Trading City bases where most of the ships that come from the LOC, now called the LSP, land first to pick up supplies and go on their way after checking in at port docking. SSP Alliance Martian Pod Housing. Some of the SSP research teams live in dome pod houses on Mars when they are studying the planet's ecology out in the field. SSP Alliance Martian Base. This is an SSP Alliance base on Mars. It is mostly research and development that happens here to figure out how to terraform Mars. The secret space programs started building bases on Mars in the 1950s and have created stable infrastructures throughout the years. These bases are successful, and once it was known that it was structurally feasible to have buildings on Mars, then city dome colonies were built on the planet. Landing and launching space pads. These are the landing and launching spaceport pads where ships land and leave from when they visit the Martian bases. Spaceport Air Traffic Control. The SSP Spaceport Air Traffic Control monitors where ships land on the Martian bases, as well as keeping schedules for incoming and outgoing air traffic over the various Mars bases, cities, research facilities, etc. Martian colony homes. These are what the Martian colony homes look like inside the domed cities. Families have larger homes than single individuals who are not married or have kids. The houses are made of durable polymer, non-destructible materials in order to be able to withstand the sand and solar storms on Mars. Interior of a Martian home. The interiors of Martian homes have a living room, kitchen, 2 bedrooms, small office space, and 2 bathrooms for each home design. Houses are made of portable materials and can be deconstructed and moved to different locations in cities that are protected by the domes. Often, houses will also have portable gardens that are part of the house attachment inside the property, because there are importances in having spaces inside the home which are dedicated to green space, to growing food, to growing vegetables, because outside the areas are mostly all used for city life and stuff inside the domes. These domes can be huge, or they could be smaller sized domes. So all space is important inside the home. It's all used in a functional way for sleeping arrangements, for eating, for leisurely activities, for a small garden inside the home. It's very important for growing your own food and being self-sustainable at each property. Slim skin-tight spacesuits. These are the slim skin-tight spacesuits that individuals on Mars wear when they are out exploring the surface of Mars, going between the different bases and city colonies on the planet. These slim skin-tight spacesuits are otherwise also called smart suits or environmental suits. Combat armor. Since the atmosphere on Mars is very thin, smart spacesuits and combat armor are worn when patrolling the boundaries of bases and cities, on protection detail or mission reconnaissance. Phaser weapons. Phaser weapons are used that utilize laser fire instead of firearms with bullets or physical projectiles. Phaser weapons have features like stun and also the kill setting. However, the phaser weapons technology does not make use of bullets. as those do not have stun settings and therefore can damage combat armor or space suits, killing unnecessarily. Alien bases and ruins on Mars. There are ancient alien underground bases, research facilities, and ruins of cities, as well as other structures like pyramids on Mars, as well as ancient domes. Only scientists are allowed to research these alien bases, and military personnel accompany the scientists when they go on their research expeditions to the ancient bases and cities. There are species of some reptilians, original human colonists, insectoids, and ant species living on Mars, as well as having the secret space program bases, colonies, and cities. Planetary Corporations and Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate Bases, ICC. The ICC bases on Mars are built differently than the SSP bases. The ICC bases are steel reinforced, and some of them are tubular shaped. These are research and R&D installations that build advanced technology to trade with other ET races. There are all types of medical labs, R&D, manufacturing plants, weapon munitions, bunkers, and intelligence gathering facilities on the ICC bases. And the weapon munitions bunkers, they store plasma cannon weapons, various laser weapons, phaser weapons, those types of things, as well as plasma rail guns that are experimental, various laser antennae, and other types of energy-based beam weaponry. That's what they store in these weapon munition bunkers. They don't just store regular weapons. All kinds of laser platforms, phaser platforms, cannons, and it's all energy-based beam weaponry that they have. Stasis holding chambers. The ICC hold prisoners of war in cryo-sleeping fluidic chambers, as well if there is brainwashing, mind control manipulation, or brain wiping, blank slating of memories being done, then these fluidic chambers are used for those purposes. These chambers also have the capability of creating torture scenarios for the individuals being held in the chambers. The fluidic drugs or drug serums in the chambers can create the torture imagery, which feels very real to the subjects. So it feels and looks very real, but it's holographically induced, very holographic in nature, but not computerized. It's done with drug serums. Also, subliminal messages can be planted in the brain to create fake memories instead of real ones. An individual coming out from a fluidic chamber after false memories being implanted onto their brain. So they literally now have holographic inserts of memories that are not their own or that are very fake. So they do not remember what happened on one of their ICC secret missions. Temporary stasis. Sometimes the fluidic chambers are used to temporarily hold ICC operatives or assets in order to give them subliminal programming orders, as well as information for mission protocols and parameters before they are sent out to do field work on their assigned projects. The subjects have no memories or recall of ever being in these fluidic chambers. Now, some assets who have advanced psychic abilities, memory recall, photographic or eidetic memory, it's harder to blank slate or wipe their memories from their brains. So they actually remember sequences of events from memory recall or from hypnosis. It's easier for them to remember because the blank slating or mind wiping doesn't last on them for very long. And within like 10, 15 years, they have memory recall of what happened to them in the secret space program factions or groups. Electromagnetic chamber. This is an electromagnetic prisoner holding chamber which the ICC uses in order to interrogate ET prisoners and ICC defectors. So basically, what happens in this chamber is like there's an electromagnetic field that literally suspends you up and you're hanging there in the chamber, and they can send electric shock waves into your body as an incentive for you to provide information for the interrogators. So this can happen to ET prisoners, ICC defectors, or anybody else that they want to question. So basically, you're, like I was saying, you're just hanging there suspended in an electromagnetic stasis field, and you have no way of getting out from the chamber. So you're stuck in it and you're just hanging there suspended until you tell them what they want to know, whether that's physically telling them or even psychically. And that can happen to the ETs or to humans. If an individual falsely answers questions, lies, or omits the truth, they experience having an electric shock blast surge hit their nervous system. This creates a very painful sensation to both the mind and the body, so subjects are more inclined to talk after experiencing this process multiple times if they are lying during an interrogation session. And extraterrestrials in particular do not like having electrical shock to their bodily systems. Some of them don't take pain so well and can't process the electricity going through their body, and that interferes with their thinking processes. And for humans as well. Cyborg Experiment Labs. The ICC has Cyborg cybernetic experimentation labs on its Mars bases. Living humans are used against their will because they're kidnapped. They're used as test subjects with combining cybernetic technology with human body parts. After this has been done, other subjects are used to have their memory engrams transferred to the built cyborg bodies. This is done to see how successful virtual memory implantation of memory engrams can be accomplished in a semi-cybernetic biological being. The process is called transhumanism. Smart spacesuits. The Planetary Corporations and Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate specializes in building advanced smart spacesuits, which allow the wearer to adapt to different environmental temperatures, so they are not hot or cold. Bodily waste fluids are recycled. So basically, while you're wearing the smart suit, you actually don't go to the bathroom. Somehow, because the smart suit has nanotechnology, nanites, woven into the suit itself, so it can change the molecular structure of your body so you don't create bodily waste while you're wearing the smart suit. So that's what I mean by bodily waste fluids are recycled, because somehow in your body, the structure of how waste is made, because it's supposed to come out of your body, it doesn't. So somehow it's changed on a molecular level, so you don't have to physically go to the bathroom while wearing the smart suit, and there's no repercussions of you having a bathroom accident and of you not being in pain. Somehow your molecular structure is changed while wearing the smart suit. So you're not constipated, you're not in pain. You don't physically have to go to the bathroom in bodily waste coming out. You don't have to do that while wearing the smart suit, and there's no health, physical pain, or repercussions while wearing the smart suit. And when you do take off the smart suit, you go to the bathroom as regular as you always do usually. These suits also act as camouflage shields so the wearer can become invisible, and also bullet and laser fire is deflected from the suit's electromagnetic energy field, so the individual wearing the suit cannot be injured during battle. And these smart suits, they also can mimic clothing. While you're wearing the smart suit, it could look like a dress, it could look like any type of clothing. It also has the capability of levitation, the smart suit, because it has consciousness thought-assisted technology in it because of the nanotechnology in the suit. So basically, when you put on the helmet, you can levitate the suit, the smart suit, with your thoughts psychically, give the suit programming. It could take you into space, so you no longer need a ship or a craft. You can also teleport with the suit from one location to another on planet or somewhere off planet to another planet. The smart suit has healing abilities, so if you injure your leg, you sprain it, or you get a horrible cut in your skin, the smart suit releases certain type of drug serums to help heal you, or nutritional supplements, whatever you need to stay healthy. The smart suit temporarily can provide that for you. Regulate your emotions, your various hormonal balances, etc. in your body. So it just balances all that out so you're healthy while wearing the smart suit. ICC Mars Orbital Stations. The ICC has 4 Mars Orbital Defense and Communications space station platforms, which monitor space traffic between Mars and Earth, as well as teleportation activities from the various Star Gateway portals between other planets in the Milky Way and Andromeda Galaxy. ICC orbital space platforms are usually cloaked so they cannot be picked up by radar, telescopes, or satellites in space. These 4 space station orbital platforms also act as advanced satellite arrays, which send out classified communications to various SSP and ICC space fleets, bases, and colonies that are located throughout the Milky Way and Andromeda Galaxy. Building fleet ships for the Dark Fleet, also known as Nachtwaffenregier in German and Spanish. The ICC builds advanced motherships for the Dark Fleet and also trades with other civilizations for providing them with starship technology, as well as medical serums, trading routes and rights to other planets, and building out bases, etc., in exchange for workforce labor and favors. ICC ship technology has reinforced non-penetration shielding and cannon plasma blast weaponry, which is capable of destroying cities on planets. As well, the cannon plasma weapons can also destroy planets. That's why they're otherwise called the planet killers or planetary body destroyers. Planetary terraforming technology. ICC has terraforming technology that sends a neo-laser blast beam of protons or nuclide peptides to planets so they can be transformed, having living plant life, oxygen, atmosphere, oceans, etc. The neoblast also sends bioliving matter, peptides, which helps to create biological life on planets or planetary bodies as well as moons, as an example. An ICC stealth cruiser ship which can travel beyond the speed of light, capable of planet-to-planet travel within 10 minutes or half an hour, sometimes longer, depending on how far apart the planets are in the solar system. It may take several hours to travel to other solar systems and maybe months if traveling to a different galaxy. A spacecraft that has time dilation technology on it to be able to activate portals and wormholes in order to do time travel. Now, this time dilation technology does have protective shielded buffers on it, so you can't just activate the time dilation devices on the ship without having access codes to the technology. It's acts as a protective measure, so you don't just go time traveling wherever you want to go and whenever you want to go just because you want to, or change timelines because you don't like something that happened in history. So there are protective measures set up so you don't do that. You have to have access codes enabled in order to be able to time travel, to activate the time dilation technology on the ship. And the buffers are there to make sure you don't accidentally set something off and get lost in a timeline, or you don't do something that's nefarious for time travel. So only certain people on the crew personnel have access to activate the time dilation technology on the ship. That's why the buffers are there to protect the ship and the people on it, so they don't time travel unless it's been authorized to do so. And if somebody else takes over the ship, like space pirates or terrorists, they won't have access to the time dilation technology because it has buffers on it. They don't have the access codes, so they can't use the technology. Mining operations, SSP and ICC. The SSP and the ICC do various mining operations in the Kuiper Belt, where there are asteroids with deposits of gold, silver, platinum, uranium, etc. There are also places in the solar system where crystal minerals are mined in order to create fusion technology to power ships and cities for the SSP and ICC space colonies, which are located on moons, space stations, and planets in the Milky Way galaxy and Andromeda galaxy, as well as further out beyond these galaxies or solar systems. There are ICC bases on some asteroids. Secret Space Program Alliance and ICC ships. Through some of the recent hypnosis sessions, I've discovered that there may not be a Secret Space Program Alliance at all, so please keep that in mind. The SSP and ICC has ships which are research vessels, transportation cruisers, cargo ships, battleships, intelligence gathering and exploration spaceships. SSP ICC vessels and ships come in all different sizes, forms, some small and others can be mid-sized or as big as planets depending on the purpose of the ships. And none of the secret space programs are here to help us, to rescue us, to better us as a species. They're not saviors. They're all out for themselves to protect their own interests, agendas, and property on the moon, Mars, and elsewhere in the solar system, the galaxy, and outside even our galaxy. So these programs are ruthless. That's why I don't think there's a secret space program alliance. There's a bunch of secret space program factions and groups that are mercenary, that are predatory, and they look out for their own best interests. And it is in their own interest to keep the secrecy going, to not have full disclosure, because they have a lot of different assets and they've built out their own bases, colonies, cities, and research facilities that they want to protect. That's their assets. They don't want that coming out into the public in full disclosure. They want to keep their activities secret out in space. because there's no type of any oversight for the rights and freedoms of humans or extraterrestrials at all in these programs. They're very mercenary and predatory and military-like, these programs. And some of them are military, and some of them hold civilians on their bases. So these programs are not glamorous. They're not video games. It's real life being played out. Sometimes through time travel, quantum leap, time dilation, time travel projects. The 60 and back, the 20 and back, the 40 and back. That's done through time travel dilation. It's possible. So these programs are not romantic. You don't want to actually sign up to serve in these secret space programs. They're lethal. They create trauma, they create pain, they create horror, they create trouble for people who've been kidnapped or abducted and put in these programs to serve as secret space program assets. There's nothing glamorous about these programs, and I wouldn't voluntarily sign up for these programs because I know what I know. And a lot of innocents have been lost out in space to these programs and never returned back home, actually. Or if they were returned, they were very broken, traumatized, had a lot of health issues, social issues, emotional trauma, physical injuries and trauma. And there's no explanations for why you are the way you are because of these programs, because there's no physical evidence to back up what happened to you, to prove you were in these programs. It can't be legitimized. It can't be vetted. There are signs of something happened to you, of something happening to you, of abduction. The pain, the trauma, the mental health and physical health being poor, those are some signs. Sometimes craft following you around, those are other signs. You can take photos. And that's some proof, but it's not complete validation of offering a logical scientific explanation for what happened to you out in space, of proving it. People ask for proof. Where are your photographs? Where are your images? We don't have any. We have our memory recall. That's accessed through hypnosis or other means. That's what we have in our own descriptions. That's the only proof we have. You're not allowed to take pictures or video of what you do up in space in these programs. That's forbidden. That's classified. And that's why these programs are called secret space programs or black ops programs and missions, etc., etc. You're not allowed to take evidence back home in photographs and videos and technology that they're using in various devices. You can't take that with you. You're blank slated and you're sent home back in time through time dilation technology. You're sent back. That's it. You're out of the programs. You don't have access to the holographic medical pods for healing. You don't have access to the nice technological advanced devices or ships. You're out. Or sometimes they take you back in again on temporary missions, but you don't get to keep anything from these programs. You're lucky if you get to keep your sanity and yourself and you come back alive. You're lucky if you get that, at least. Secret Space Program Alliance and ICC ships. Now again, I don't really think the Secret Space Program Alliance even exists at this point, or if it does, it's very nefarious and very unscrupulous as well. The SSP ICC ships have fusion warp drive engines that utilize the zero-point energy fields and torsion frequencies of quantum mechanics to power the warp drives so they can travel at the speed of light and beyond the speed of light. Some of the warp drives are crystalline based and are powered by crystal modules in the engines. Other ships have plasma engines. Those are the long-distance exploration vessels that are located deep in outer space And at this point, they have discontinued the use of plasma cores for space travel, because plasma can be very unpredictable and volatile if it's used in the wrong way, if it's modulated in the wrong way for a plasma core, or for engines for that matter. So it could be very unstable. So that's not a very popular source of powering ships anymore. There's better technology now available, like the crystalline-based technologies implemented on ship drives and warp drives, etc. Star Cartography Science Lab. The SSP and ICC ships have star cartography science labs on exploration or reconnaissance vessels, which record and map star coordinates, mapping areas of solar systems and galaxies. Staff in the star cartography labs create holographic digital maps of newly explored space, as well as keeping logs of previously charted space documentation. Holographic cartography imaging. All the star cartography maps and records are holographic digital imaging files that are stored on various microcomputer and supercomputer databases within the cartography lab's virtual libraries. These space maps and records are encrypted by secure firewalls in the source of the microcomputers and supercomputers, so they cannot be hacked, as this is classified non-terrestrial information. Computer navigation stations. Most of the SSP and the ICC ships have 2 bridge decks and various navigation stations throughout the ship. Computer access is granted based on encryption rank classification, so there are different levels of classified or declassified information that can be viewed by ship personnel based on their access codes and permissions. Computer systems. SSP and ICC ships have holographic computer system interfaces that are virtually connected to all of the ship's systems, as well as the ship personnel Neuralink implants or microchip implants that are in their brains. The computers are smart pad glass technology with holographic digital imaging screens or interfaces, which retract and turn off when someone has finished working at a micro or supercomputer station. General areas of the ship. There are areas on the ships where personnel can come to work on computer terminals for research purposes, personal areas of interest, communications stations, etc. The general areas of the ships have kitchens and cafeterias with replicators or food preparation stations for making freshly made cuisine. Now, freshly made cuisine is not always accessible depending on where the ship is, in which solar system, which galaxy, how far away it is from Earth. So some foods can be replicated and other foods not so easily. So having fresh produce or food, sometimes it's not so easy to have access to that. So replicators can replicate a lot of different foods, but some things are not so easy to replicate, so they have to be handmade food sources. By that, that's what I mean, freshly made cuisine. And that's a luxury. It's not always available, depending where you are in space, out in space. So sometimes you have access to normal food fare and while you're out traveling on the ship, especially if you're out for long distance exploration missions, you have standard food for the time that you're traveling. Crew and guest quarters. The crew personnel on the SSP and ICC ships are assigned quarters based on rank. Some quarters are larger with 2 rooms if work ranking is higher, like a captain or a general. Usually for mid-level personnel, one-bedroom quarters are assigned. There are also guest quarters for negotiators, diplomats, trading personnel, research teams, scientists, engineers, etc. Information centers on ships. All the SSP and ICC ships have a secondary ship bridge that is a dedicated information center deck where intelligence gathering is done and encrypted data is logged into the ship's holographic classified databases. As well, encrypted communications is sent to other ships for passing on classified information and experimental research projects. Ship bridge decks. There are usually 4 to 6 personnel staff stationed at the main ship deck for piloting the ship, navigation control, communications specialists, research crew, etc. There are also the technology specialists who maintain the ship's computers and engineering sections. Crew personnel do shift rotations, so there is R&R downtime for relaxation, etc. Ship weapons control stations. All of the SSP and ICC ships have some type of weapons defense, armament systems which have laser guidance, controls to lock on potential enemy ship targets, photon or plasma torpedo missiles, etc. Some military and defense warships have plasma cannons mounted on the ships in order to be able to defend against planetary or solar system incursion by enemy vessels. Ship navigation consoles. SSP and ICC ships have various navigation consoles to check ship flight plans, course corrections, manifestos of ship missions, etc. As well, there are diagnostic system stations where crew, maintenance staff log in reports for ship repairs and run computer diagnostics on the ship's overall status of functionality and maintenance schedules. Library and archives rooms on ships. The SSP and ICC ships have computerized library and archives rooms which store the ship's mission logs, personnel profiles, research project findings, classified materials, etc. on crystalline data chips that can be accessed from the micro and supercomputer systems. Language translation and ship database creation is done in these ship libraries and archives. As well, there is information provided on planetary histories and protocols on making first contact with other ET species. Science labs for memory recall. There are science labs on the SSP and ICC ships with holographic virtual reality memory pods which specialize in getting crew personnel who had ET lifetimes to be able to activate their original blueprint genetics in cellular memory and remember their memories of who they were on other planets, special abilities, and expertise in job functions like advanced shipbuilding, star navigation, telepathy, etc. And these holographic virtual reality memory pods are also called memory engram stations. Medical Bay Care Centers. There are medical bay care centers on the SSP and ICC ships. The equipment in these centers monitors the physical health and well-being of crew personnel to make sure they are healthy and there is no disease or any AI signals within the brain body. SSP Dark Fleet, otherwise known as Nachtwaffenregier, Night Weapons Roar. The Dark Fleet works with the reptilians, insectoids accompanying them on Empire missions, but the reptilians only act as advisors. There is no ETs on the Dark Fleet ships, only human personnel. Dark Fleet members can be ruthless and wear uniforms that are white on black in color. And on the left-hand side, the image of the reptilian insectoid hybrid that is Zagor. His name is Zagor, and he wears a smart suit that has nanotechnology in it. And it's fully computerized, and it interfaces with his bodily systems, with his psychic abilities. And Zagor does talk in reptilian, which is not easy to psychically understand or process through the language translation modifications through Neuralink implants. Even the Neuralink implants, when your reptilian languages are not easy to translate, even when you have the Neuralink implants or other microchips in your brain. Who is Zagor, the reptilian insectoid hybrid? Zagor is a reptilian insectoid hybrid who is an ambassador to the Dark Fleet / Nachtwaffenregier. Night weapons roar, loose translation of the German / Spanish terms for Nachtwaffenregier. Zagor accompanies Dark Fleet personnel on tours of various classified facilities in the Dark Fleet territory, making sure that the personnel only see facility locations that they are supposed to tour and not wander off to locations that they do not have access to. Zagor is 14 feet tall with green skin and black eyes. He wears an AI smart suit and has the ability to connect to various micro and supercomputer technologies with the assistance of his smart suit. Dark Fleet colonies. The Dark Fleet has managed to venture outside the local solar system and has built colonies on other planets. This fleet's city ships look cigar-shaped as they are transport bus vehicles transferring personnel from the cities to off-world secret bases, space stations, etc. Currently, the Dark Fleet has been locked out from Earth space as there is a shield barrier preventing them from coming back to the local solar system. The Dark Fleet has many genetically altered crew with super soldier abilities, Neuralink implants, and microchip technologies within the personnel's brains. Dark Fleet ships. The Dark Fleet has the most heavily armed and advanced spaceships out of the many SSP ships. And also the ICC has very advanced ships and technologies as well that equal that of the Dark Fleet, sometimes even better than the Dark Fleet. Dark Fleet ships are usually either shaped in a triangular pattern, diamond pattern, or there are circular Death Stars. These ships are large battle cruisers or war striker ships designed to engage in large-scale attacks on enemy space armadas or even interplanetary war. Dark Fleet ships. Some of the Dark Fleet ships are pumpkin-shaped or teardropped, and they are very fast. All of the fleet ships are capable of going beyond the speed of light. Dark Fleet warships are some of the largest ships that the ICC has ever built, and the telecommunications technology on these ships is the most advanced out of all the other SSP ships that were designed. This is an example of a Dark Fleet base, which is somewhat pyramid-shaped. These bases are usually outside of the solar system. There are tall electromagnetic jamming towers, so communication transmissions cannot be intercepted by enemy forces. Dark Fleet defense installations. The Dark Fleet has many defense installations where weapons are produced. Soldiers are trained in fierce fighting techniques that are not legal fighting styles. All these defense installations and bases have their own power cell energy grids, so they are self-sufficient and sustainable, so are not reliant on the SSP or ICC for material support. These bases have planetary magnetic shielding around them, so they cannot be seen or detected from space, so they are virtually cloaked and invisible. They can't be picked up by radar, by telescopes, or satellites out from space. power cell energy tower grids and dark fleet base buildings. There are 40 of these bases on a planet. The way the dark fleet treats its assets and operatives can be very despicable. If the assets and operatives are not being cooperative, then the dark fleet supervisors of these operatives or assets actually will infest the operatives or assets with archonic entities to basically control uncooperative members of SSP personnel. Now, these archonic entities could be physical, small beings that are worm-like or snail-like, and they're put into someone's ear, mouth, and they burrow themselves into the brain system to control the asset or the operator. And you do things against your own will, you do acts of horror, you do horrible things to other people and yourself, and when these archonic entities leave your body, you're left a broken individual with a lot of trauma and nightmares and horror of what that archonic entity did in your body while it possessed you, literally. So that's what the Dark Fleet does to its unwilling or uncooperative assets. They're infested with archonic entities. Now that could be a physical entity, or it could be an energetic entity that is made of energy and does not have a physical shape or form. So those are entity attachments, the worst and the most foulest of them all. That's what the Dark Fleet does to its uncooperative or unwilling assets, and that's called the Ring of Archons ritual. That's what it basically is, using negative energies and forces and implanting these archonic entities into living bodies of assets and people who are living and alive to do horrid things. And the asset is always aware of what's going on when the archonic entity has a hold of it. So the asset knows what's happening. They can't control their body while the archonic entity is in their body, but they're fully aware of what the archonic entity is doing with their body. It's taking it out for a ride and doing horrid things and controlling the asset. And it's quite difficult when the archonic entity leaves the asset's body. It's quite difficult to get back your sanity and mental health and even physical health, because you had no control over what the archonic entity did to you or with you. It's horrid. But that's what the Ring of Archons ritual is. That's how the Dark Fleet uses it on its assets and operatives that are not cooperative and don't want to do the Dark Fleet's bidding, but they're forced to do it when these archonic entities infest them, either for a short period of time or a prolonged period of time. It doesn't matter. The Archon is in charge of you. You don't have any free will or any freedom at all in what you do, what your actions are, how you behave. You're not yourself, basically, because you're infested with entity attachments.